If anybody gives me a hard time for uploading and or singing this, then I don't want to sing with you. And if you think I'm ignorant, maybe because we have different beliefs, well, that's on you. Maybe you haven't looked into it, maybe you have, but hey, we don't have to agree on everything. Let's do this. Something's going wrong in the neighborhood. Why do we see further than we should? All around us, people unaware, lied to and deceived without a care. There simply is no curve inside. You know we don't spend all day and night. It seems they want our minds flooded with lies. If you wanna bust the globe, I know these guys. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters! Who you gonna call when the horizon flattens out? Go ahead, call them up, see what that's about. We can go round in circles trying to find this out, but if we looking for the truth, about to find it out. NASA can't go to space, so we hit the roof. Yet it hit the roof, and it all came to light with 200 proofs. Whoa, oh. Now I'm just really sick of people lying to me, so when I tell the truth, don't come crying to me. Pick up the phone, get on the line with me. Line with me. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters! I can't help myself. Ghostbusters! Yeah. That's right. Oh, man.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters Flat Earth Philosophy. Doodly 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 doo. I can't help myself. I do really like that intro, but we're going to be having a new intro real soon. I guess Austin and Kai have just about got this thing ready to go. And so what we've heard so far of it, you guys heard a little bit of it last week without Austin's lyrics in it, but we will be, I don't know, maybe it's done today. I don't know. I'll have to ask Austin here in a few minutes. But so anyway, today's show name is Flat Earth Philosophy. This is something we were going to do last week. And we kind of had some technical snafus and I wasn't feeling good. And we kind of got, lost in the confusion, but we had a good show anyway. But we have our guest with us this week, and he belongs to the channel called Flat Earth Philosophy. And his name is Lindsay Harris, and I guess some people call him Papa Flurf, which is kind of cool. But we'll be bringing on Lindsay here in just a few minutes. And so today is also Super Bowl Sunday. Wow. God, it changed to me that I was doing Super Bowl Sunday a year ago from this very same spot. It's just kind of weird. But then again, that's what happens when you're on a show on a Sunday. So anyway, let's go ahead and introduce the panel before we get to today. We are going to have kind of a short show today because, believe it or not, for the first time in 7 years or 6, I don't know, it's been a long, long time. I may actually go and look into the Super Bowl and see where they've got it all rigged, even though I seriously doubt that's happening. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, let's go ahead and get our panel introduced. First up, as always, we have Mr. Jeran from Jeranism.
What up, Bob? How are you?
Hey, not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing great. Excited for the presentation today. I had quite a few people contact me over the last, I don't know, maybe it's been 6 months, giving me links to Lindsay's channel and saying, have you watched this? Have you watched this? And so, yeah, I'm always over there and checking out his latest. He's awesome to listen to. So I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool myself. I have watched a few of his videos. I think I contacted Lindsay, gosh, it's almost a year ago now, and I was kind of getting interested in his stuff then. And then, of course, we got busy with the move and stuff like that and didn't get a chance to get back to him. But, you know me, I am the kind of person that, when I see somebody that is thinking outside of the box and even way outside of the box, that's my kind of stuff, man. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you just never know. You just never know. They're going to pull some stuff out. And he's already done that already. And, conversely, there's some things that I don't necessarily agree with. And, Cami as well. But that's kind of the idea, is to, bring our heads together and see if we can make something that is at least plausible, right, for a model. And, it's at least better than hearing the ballers say, well, you guys don't even have a model. Of course, the ballers don't have a model either. Their map is wrong. Their model is wrong. So many things about what they say is dead wrong. It's just wrong from start to finish. And, it's really hard to convey that to people because, they'll sit there and say, well, I can go and I can listen to all these experts, so-and-so will say this, and he's an astrophysicist. And, we take that as gospel. Of course you do, because you've been raised to take this as gospel. But, this is a show about kind of discarding that and thinking in a different way. And I'm certainly not even going to say that just because it's different, it's wrong, because it isn't. We believe it's right. And we know so many things about the baller they're wrong. So, to heck with those guys. We're going to go on and get this done. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next person, which is Zack Zabala from Good Times for All. How you doing, Zack?
Hey, Bob. Hey, everybody. Yeah, doing good. Doing good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay, glad to have you. And next up, we have Mr. Witsit Gets It.
Hello.
Okay, John, I'll get to you in just a second. Next up is Austin from Witsit Gets It. How you doing, Austin? And you are muted again.
Doing good. Nope. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, I see you. Now it's muted. I don't know. You're going like on and off, muted on, mute off. Now it's not muted. So we should hear you.
Well, hopefully you can hear me. I'm doing good. Excited for the show. Should be good times, and hopefully we can make sure there's no technical difficulties.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a while since we've all run StreamYard, but I would really like to come up with something that's really good. Even though I know that OBS is probably the best. I'm like one of those keep it simple, stupid people, where I like the program to do everything for me, and I don't have to figure it all out, and it's all just there. And so far, I haven't had much luck finding that yet. But and unfortunately, for what I'm familiar with, StreamYard seems to do the best. So, but yes, we did hear you, and thanks for showing up today. That's awesome. Don't know where Hero is, but he'll probably pop in at some point. But next up, we have John TheMorgile. How you doing today, John?
Hey guys, I can't hear anybody but you, Bob, and it's a pretty bad connection. I don't know if my connection is jarbling out as well.
I don't know. Can you guys hear him?
I can hear him.
I can. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can hear you guys now. I couldn't hear Austin for some reason.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, he was kind of going in and out, or I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, hello everybody.
Hello. We're back on the learning curve, so you know how that goes. So, are you guys going to? Did you guys make plans to go watch the Super Bowl today, John?
We're probably not going to go anywhere. I'll just watch it at the house, probably.
Yeah, me too. Just to see what it's like. But there have been some pretty outrageous claims about and I have no doubt that professional sports has kind of been there's some trickery going on occasionally. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But who we're talking about here. These accusations that are being made about some of the plays where the players are just being asked to come in and throw their game. It's absurd. I can see maybe doing it by making the wrong play, calling the wrong play intentionally, or letting the defense know what the offense is going to do, something like that type of cheating. But and then that way you can keep it away from the players, right? Then it's at the coach level. But
the thing that always sort of concerned me is the coaches talk to each other on those little two-way Motorola radios or whatever, and it would be pretty easy for someone to hack into those or whatever and know exactly what they're planning on doing. So that's just me, but I don't know. I like football. I used to play football, and it's it's the Super Bowl, so I'll still watch it. I'm not real big into sports per se, but it is the Super Bowl, so.
Yeah, I hear you. I think the last Super Bowl I watched was the one where I predicted Denver to win, and they went all the way and won. I predicted that on day one of the season, and that was pretty cool. That's when I became a sage. Right? Remember that, Jeran?
Bob Stradamus. I remember.
Bob Stradamus. Yes, absolutely. All right, cool. I'm not sure where Iro is, but you know what? He may be. Is he traveling today?
I don't recall.
I think he might be. Traveling. So, all right. Well, safe travels, Iro. And I hope he does not take, we'll talk about that maybe at some of the other point, or if we even have a exclusive Rockfin show only today. Probably be too short for that. But that's something I wanted to bring up last week and just absolutely forgot about it. But, something that they found out about the tests that was not cool. So anyway, but we'll forget about that. And today we are here because we have a guest, Mr. Lindsay Harris, who belongs to the channel. His channel actually belongs to him. Is called Flat Earth Philosophy. And he is, let's see, where is it? That's not it. Okay. So this channel right here, Flat Earth Philosophy, and I'm showing it for everybody. Let me go ahead and get a full screen. I will put this in the show notes because I didn't get a chance to do this yet.
How many subs does he have? 25, 20 something?
Wow, I don't know. It doesn't say.
Right under there,
2.24K. There it is, 2.24K. And yeah, probably should have more, but that's how it is. One thing I do know about Lindsay's channel is that he gets a boatload of trolls, and they really, really go after him. And to me, whenever I see that happening, that tells me that he's probably over the mark. So anyway, I want to welcome Mr. Lindsay Harris from Flat Earth Philosophy. How are you doing today, Lindsay?
Hi, Bob. Hi, guys. Hello to the audience. The first time I'm live, so I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. Yeah, so it's great to be on your show, mate.
Awesome. Well, so we obviously have a few questions. I don't know, are you familiar with Globebusters and the work that we've done? Have you watched this much? No offense if you haven't.
No, I've watched a few shows, but I couldn't comment, so I couldn't add to what you're doing. I found your stuff quite fascinating. You're nearly there. I just wanted to throw in a few pointers to let you know, but I couldn't get through.
Okay. Well, hey, that's good to hear. Jeran and I started this channel 7 years ago, and originally, we started it together and Jeran was hosting it, but after, I don't know, maybe it was a year, if it was that long, something like that. Jeran said that, he wanted to move on and develop his channel more, but if I wanted to keep going forward with Globebusters, that we could keep doing that. And of course, my idea for Globebusters, because I'm an engineer by profession, was to start bringing out the more technical prospects of flat Earth and also some of the ways that things can run. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, and I understand electricity very, very well. I'm also pretty sharp at computers, and I'm a pilot as well. So I've got quite a few things that are very good to have as credentials for this, even though I never ever rely on my credentials for any of this, because if I look at it in the way, if I cannot explain it to people simply, then it doesn't matter if I have 6 PhDs. If I cannot get my message across, it's pointless, right? So I'm not a person that relies a lot on saying, oh, well, I got a degree in electrical engineering, so you have to listen to me. It's just like, no, that's not the way I work at all. I do it in a way of, this is what we have, this is what we think, this is the way that we understand things is working now, and this is the way that we, see things working in the flat Earth model. So I really, like that approach. And Jeran just has a really good way of looking at things and, seeing simplicity in it. So we started out and made a really good team for a long time. Then we had, more John TheMorgile joined us, and we've had several other people. But 7 years now we've been doing this, and it's been a lot of fun. So Lindsay, on your model, sir, I guess, can you kind of give us an overview, or do you want to, maybe we could look at that one video. Let's see, the world first announcement from a flat earther. Do you want to play that just to give the people a little feel for your work?
Not sure if I can play it. Can you play it?
I can play it, yes.
Yeah, you can play it if you want.
Okay, hang on a second. I got to unshare the screen and then reshare it with sound, because otherwise it doesn't have any sound, and I got to do that. So, whoops, hang on just a second. So share, screen 3, share system audio, and share. The browser can't access your screen. Oh, I hate it when it does that.
I could just run over it anyway. It's
okay, all right.
You do it as a tab instead, I think, Bob. You used to do it as a tab, and it would work better for you.
Okay, let me try it with the tab then real quick, just to see.
I think that's what I remember you having to do.
Share screen, Chrome tab. Oral's first announcement. Okay, yeah, I think you're right, Jeran. I think that's what we did. Share.
There you
go. Okay, let's see if that works.
Welcome, everybody.
Can you guys hear the audio?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just play this through real quick.
Welcome to a world first discovery. This made me jump out of bed. Yesterday, I made 2 videos and I'm about to post them online. And I've just realized I've just hit the jackpot.
So I thought.
It's something mind-blowing. A world first discovery that's going to humiliate all of science. They haven't known this system. And I'm just doing this little preview, put this up before I let the other ones go, and release the other video.
And Lindsay, if you want to make any comments during this, just start talking, and I will put a pause on the video, okay?
That's cool. Yeah, I'll get into it now. You've heard the dribble, start now.
Yeah, the dribble start now, okay. So let's go ahead and play this, and just tell me when to stop, or just start talking, and I will pause it. Here we go.
Videos, so I'm just going to run over it. I've just done a video on the recycling system of Earth, and in it, I inadvertently stumbled. Well, it all comes with the whole flat Earth design, but I didn't realize how big it is. The recycling system of how the gaseous layers that build up over time get right up to helium and whatever, hydrogen, at the top of our firmament here, and then get sucked in.
You're talking about the noble gases here, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
The central vortex. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll understand this vortex we have in the center of the Earth where creation is, the tree of life, where the actual sun is, not the sun we see, the protected model, the actual sun, and how the gas is pulled back into the sun, recycled, and comes back down into the Arctic center. This is a massive amount of fresh water we get in the Arctic Circle, in the Beaufort Gyre. You see, the Beaufort Gyre is basically what do you call those water, a whirlwind type vortex system in the central North Arctic here. It's even written in a lot of historical, mythological stories, you know. And it rotates clockwise, right? Well, we know the Polaris star rotates anti-clockwise because this is the whole system. You get the spiral. This is the nighttime sky up here. Polaris, the northern hemisphere, does a anti-clockwise rotation. But inside the vortex where the sun is created, down here will be clockwise. That's the way that Beaufort Gyre spins. But the sun is producing all the fresh water. It's being recycled from the gaseous layers up here, being purified and dropped into the Arctic center. Scientists don't even know how this works. There's another 100% proof that the flat Earth model is correct. I'm the only one with the flat Earth model. The entire model cannot be debunked. This is huge. Nobel Prize worthy, creating all this. Of course, being a flat Earth, I'll never get one.
That is for sure true.
Probably all you need to hear.
Well, you know, I just want to stop because I agree with you. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that I've come up to that I think, you know, given a different time and a place, yeah, I could have maybe got a Nobel Prize. Not that I'm interested in that. I'd be interested in $1 million though, but
Yeah.
not that I'm interested in that. But you know, I agree with you. And you know what's amazing is in the electric universe model. I don't know if you follow Thunderbolts project or not, but they, you know, we're talking about. They've done several seminars, and they're talking about. They don't understand it, but there seems to be a lot of fresh water that is coming from stars and the sun. Isn't that interesting, right? But they don't get it, but they're absolutely detecting that. So what do you think about that?
No, you see, my whole model is all about the projection from the center Earth. It projects our whole realm. All the stars, the sun, everything is just a projection from what happens in the central vortex. So it's not the sun. The sun is a focal point in the plasma field, but the sun itself isn't the plasma. It's the focal point within the plasma field. And in that video, one of the main videos, I've mentioned the plasma, the primer fields. You want to check out the primer fields if you can find it. Video 4, but any of those primer field videos explain what's going on up here in the stars and that with the magnetic fields and stuff. But this is what people can't handle is the place of creation back here. Physics understands it all in quantum mechanics, but they tell us it's billions of miles away. It's not billions of miles away. It's right here above the center Arctic. The center Arctic, you can't get to the exact center. It's a place called inaccessibility. People, you know, deny it and all that, but it's true. You can't get to the dead center. And look how it gets wider as it goes up. In here,
is this the place? I assume. Have you seen the model where maybe they had the Mason, right? That was talking about how they have the dark.
Yeah, I've
sun
seen that. Yeah, he was pretty all right. Yeah.
You think he got that right?
He's pretty close, but they talk about the black sun and as being down here. There's no black sun. It's the black hole of creation. Our sun is on its horizon. And it's this black hole that creates the lunar eclipses and everything. It's the alignment of the planets. They have to be in line with that dead center. So all the mythological, almost a lot of them in, you know, religious stories all refer to Mercury. Mercure, whatever they call it, but Mercury is involved with the all the eclipses. So you've got the black hole aligned with the sun. The sun moves around the horizon of the black hole. It's tucked in. It's tucked into the Milky Way like an egg in a nest. Even the Christian story of Jesus and all that's all related to that because it's what's a manger? It's a long trough. It's the Milky Way. The sun is Christ. And basically the black hole is God, but you know, Christians will hate me for saying that sort of stuff, but it all comes from in there. So the alignments are black hole, sun, Mercury, something like that. And the black hole is an amplifier. Science knows it's an amplifier. It amplifies our whole realm. It's pretty mind blowing. We're not taught this stuff, you know.
No, absolutely. We're not. When you say it's a black hole, what exactly do you mean by that? You called it an amplifier and a black hole.
It's a vortex. It's in the center of a vortex. If you vortex water, like a whirlpool or whatever, you've got the hollow core. That's the place of inertia, basically, where that Earth sits. Earth sits, horizontally in that black hole. Like the Hermeticals tell us, Earth is from the hole. And so you got this vortex, so you got the void, it's the place of rest. There's nothing going on in the center of a void.
Right.
That's why Earth is there, and it's a place of rest.
Yep.
And everything moves around it.
Right. And not only that, they've said that if the sun, of course, is representing Christ, and we are speaking in metaphor here, and there's a lot of this that I think is a duality with metaphor to be able to tell this story, not only, of a religious paradigm, but, what's actually happening in our creation. But, if the black sun is in fact feeding the energy to the white sun and the moon, then there you have it. You would have God feeding it to his son, the sun
That's right.
and the moon, and it coming up through that vortex, which of course has always been stated to be there at the North Pole. So I'm right with you 100%.
So at the time, I sort of realised DeBay, what's his name? Eric DeBay put out a really good video regarding all the mythological stories and history of this tree of life in the centre of the North Arctic. So it went really well with what I was putting out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The Hyperborea, Ben Stone, Mount Meru, whatever you want to call it. But people have to realise, even in the Bible when it says, love thy mother and thy father, the Bible is spiritual, the non-physical, not your physical world down here. The mother and the father is the meaning the moon and the sun actually there. But you're right, the black hole's the father of creation, and you got the sun, the father, and the moon is the mother. And these solar eclipses have a profound effect on certain people if they're in the right conscious state. Anyway, the whole flat earth design is related with the human brain. And the human brain pineal gland is here where the sun is and everything. You could go 2 hemispheres of the brain, or you break it down again and you have the 2 hemispheres here. So you have to realize we do not see all this where creation is. So I don't know how science came up with all this, but they've got it pretty well right, but it's all hidden in here. So this becomes physical in our realm. So this in here now comes out here into our tropical region. And that's where we see the sun and the planets and everything moving around. And it moves around in a big circle. And the sun, tucked into the Milky Way, turns. That's the turning of day, 24/7, 360 degrees. That's the back of the sun, the Milky Way we see at night. So that's Typhon, or all these mythological stories where they're battling all the time because it's the sun, Zeus, battling Typhon, or other mythological stories where it's daylight battling nighttime.
Right.
Basically, nighttime is the underworld. It's not down here under Earth. That's nothing to do with us. We're all above the Earth. Everything happens in here, and it's all projected out here. So the sun turning and the sun slips. The sun is always moving quicker than everything else. Nothing passes the sun. Science tells you it's going around the sun, or whatever they say, I don't know. But the sun is the quickest. It's right at the center of the whole ecliptic, what they call the ecliptic plane type thing, where you've got the 5 main planets, and the sun, the moon, the mother. The planets are like children. So the moon comes from the sun, spirals out all the way up to, say, Saturn, full moon, and then spirals all the way back to new moon. And that's the connection between, like when the good book says, there for signs, that's the moon going into singularity, into the sun where it's not seen. Into here we do not see thought, memory, or creation. So it's a singularity, because in the afterworld, when you're dead and gone, you're singular. When we're cast into the world, we become a dual system, a duality. It's described here in the earth. It's the same. Your physical world, you have a male and a female, up, down, black, white, whatever you want to call it. It's all dual.
It's all duality, yeah.
Yeah, but the magic is in the Trinity. In religion, you get the Trinity. The magic is in this gap, which gets sucked in, like it's closely connected to John, where he says, to get to the Father, you go through me. So you go through the Son. But that's pretty deep religious stuff.
Wow,
anyway.
that's good stuff.
But
That is good stuff.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, Lindsay, what you're showing a very specific alignment there. What exactly are those? Those are the planets, and this is how these manifest as alignment of the planets, or what's aligning?
The alignment is from, let's say you got I was going to draw it here, but we'll use this. You're looking down on Earth here, right? And on the diagrams keep telling you, oh, well, you look down on the ball Earth from there. Well, what are you doing? You're looking right down on the North Arctic on the flat plane of Earth. And so you've got the black hole of creation right in here. That's the vortex right inside above the Arctic. We cannot get out of this zone here. We can't get through this. This is like the magnetic flux of Earth across here like this. Astronomers know that the sky is flat in the northern hemisphere, and it is. It's flat, and that comes down here. Now,
so are in your idea, are the planets physical objects, or are they merely energetic?
Nothing in our realm is physical. And then you think, well, where's the projector? Where's the projector? Where's the physical stuff? But then you have to realize this is the deep and meaningful thing about Earth and consciousness. There's nothing physical at all. Even science, the physicists tell you that creation can come straight back to nothing, a ball, an apple, or whatever. And that's the thing. It's like a memory in your brain, your thought. You can't see it, you can't hold it, but you go ahead and create it physically. You go and build a car, build a house, or whatever. It's similar. It all goes back to the secret place. It's the God zone, tree of life. You know, don't eat the apple, you'll be kicked out of the garden. Because if you wake up, you get kicked out of the garden. The common guy will think you're an idiot, type of thing. That's what basically happens.
Yeah.
So I was working on something yesterday because, you know, we know they told us it's 10,000 kilometers from the Arctic to the equator. And then science tells us it's 10,000 kilometers to the exosphere. Well, it's rather convenient. Look, 10 there, a symmetrical arc like this. It's 10 there, right? Well, it makes sense there. But, you know, if you go back to their ball, 10,000 up to here. Why have they picked that figure? I mean, space goes on forever, doesn't it? What's this 10,000 kilometers to the exosphere? So it's all in here. It's in this model. And then I thought, well, some guys are going to moan and say, well, yeah, what about nautical miles and arc minutes and all that? So I started working on this. Not sure if I was going to be on your show today, you see. And then so I drew this up and then found, you know, these diagonals, you know, it's falling down as you go. Well, that sort of represents your arc of horizon, man's arc of horizon. We'll get into that in a minute. But those measurements are all the same. Those diagonal measurements are all the same. So that's connected to the equal distance of latitude as you move north-south or vice versa. But I won't go too far into that because I haven't, you know, finished what I was working on. But as we travel across our Earth, it's all connected to this arc up here. As above, so below. This arc up here in arc minutes is connected to the magnetic field lines here on Earth. And they call these the rum lines. Even in celestial navigation, this is called the spider web. You can't deny it. And then I got into some old research and found Sir Edmund Halley. He realized all these magnetic field lines. And then I went back to check on it again, and they've sort of like converted it to the ball, like it's coming out of the center of the ball or something. It's just, you know, NASA, wow. They've done the dirty on everyone, eh? So that distance, they follow that curved magnetic field line. You know, these two equate to this arc here. But you've got to really think, because it's pretty tricky. And off the cuff, I wouldn't want to start getting into it either right now. But I've done a video on it, or a couple of videos. I think I started the celestial navigation thing now. That Bob the science guy and all that are getting into. But they're full of crap.
I know. They are. They're full of crap, and wasting your time with them is just that. It's wasting time, and we don't even address them anymore. We just say, you know what, go do what you want to do, and we're going to talk about flat Earth and bring it forward as we see it. Because you know, trying to convince those clowns, it's just a waste of time. It really is.
But I like jumping on there, commenting, and you know, making a fool out of them. They like to make fools out of us flat earthers.
Oh, I know.
But But anyway, understanding this it's basically the meridian over Earth, and understanding that human is a fractal of the Earth. We are so connected, it's freaking mind-blowing. We have an arc of horizon like this. We are always zenith to our arc of horizon. All the celestial bodies are cast into this arc, all coming perpendicular to the observer. This is why you can never and because they're holographic projections from in here, you can never get a measurement to any celestial body from two different locations on Earth from two different people, because everybody has his own arc of horizon. That's why the sun's size never changes. Or nothing, no celestial body. Well, the moon might, because it spirals in and out of the center. But the sun will never change in size because it's going straight over there, always perpendicular to the observer. And this arc moves with you, and it's all described in the Bible actually. But one spot here you'll find Ezekiel 1:12-23 talks of this. And I'm not sure it's there, but somewhere else even says, "Rise up, Daniel, you will see further." Well, the average dummy will think, well, if you climb up a mountain, you see further. No, the book's not for dummies. It means something. You rise up, your arc of horizon will move up. So the distance of those celestial bodies will move with you.
Yes.
You're always like a dangling carrot in front of a donkey. He's never going to get there, is he? Well, that's how it works, you see.
Exactly. So it's just like when we're trying to identify the position of the sun. You move towards it and it moves away because it's always in apparent position.
That's right. And then you got blue shift, red shift, because blue is always around you. You've got to imagine every man is from the center of creation. We've all come from the whole. So Earth is all around the whole because there's the whole there. So is man. He's from the center too. He's a fractal of the Earth. He has the same system. So the blue shift is near him, the higher frequency, and red shift is further away. That's why you're getting your sunsets further out on your arc of horizon. And that's all explained in the mythological story of Horus, Osiris, Set, and Isis.
Yep. A little deviation here, real quick, Lindsay. Do you just out of curiosity, do you believe that we could survive outside of this realm? Do you think it's possible to survive outside?
No. Humans cannot leave this magnetic field because it's connected to your brain.
Yep.
It's a conscious concept. Nothing is actually physical. Everything is from the mind and the eyeballs. That's why Earth looks like an eyeball. And it's the eye of Horus, basically. It's a thought. That's true.
So a lot of people would say that you are coming dangerously close to calling this a simulation.
Yeah, no, you're right.
What would you say to that?
Well, I understand what the Freemasons are on, but the thing is, a true like an illuminated person would know, but there's some sort of witchcraft or evilness, satanic backdoor that comes through.
I think you misunderstood me. I don't think you heard my entire statement. Some people would think that you are coming dangerously close to calling this place a simulation, as in simulation theory. And I have to tell you something before you answer that. I have thought about this a lot, about the idea that this could be simulation in whole or in part, and I have not been able to eliminate that possibility because it is so interconnected. It's very difficult to separate the two. So what do you think about the idea of this possibly being, a simulation? You're already saying that, all of this is connected into our electrical system. Everything, obviously is electrical. Our brain works on electrical impulses. Our senses work on electrical senses and responses, to our nerves, on and on and on. So what do you think about that?
Well, that's the freaky thing. When you stop thinking about it, think, and who's the expert in computers? Bill Gates. And what's he up to at the minute? Well, a silicon chip is basically your pineal gland. Once they start understanding that, and I've just on some website, it was all about how they can get into you. There's the eyeball to brain connection. They can look into your eye and start reading your thoughts in your mind. And that was a bit freaky, but it's a bit out there, but that's sort of coming, they reckon. And so that's what you need to realize. We humans are fractals of the Earth. So we have our little silicon chip as the pineal gland, but it's connected to this thing in here, the sun. This is what sun gazing is all about. It affects the pineal gland. It stimulates it. And you guys were talking about it the other day. And yeah, sure, you only look at it morning and night, but with sunglasses on, you can look at it during the day. It's if you wear about 3 or 4 pairs, which I do, I stand with 3 or 4 pairs and look at the sun. So simulation, that's the freaky thing, because it's just like a computer. They have the silicon chip and it's all there, all the information. And
so, hey, Lindsay, what do you think about meteors or shooting stars?
Yeah. Well, sometimes the comets or whatever are falling back down through the Milky Way. They're going towards the sun. Everything eventually gets recycled back down this vortex through the sun and black hole. Shooting stars. If you get into primer fields, you'll understand all that.
Mm-hmm.
The shooting stars. But when it comes to meteor showers, that's some deep and deep spiritual thing. That's connected to the human body, and that's connected with Nephilim going to.
So you don't. Maiden. And I guess what I'm asking is because I've sort of postulated that it may be because we know that the low density gases like hydrogen and helium find their way up to higher elevations. I've postulated that they're condensing at these higher elevations due to the pressure and the temperature up there, and then basically precipitating back down. I mean, do you think there's anything to that, or am I way off here?
No, so high you get the precipitation, but at the higher elevations, it's going up and it's coming back down through the sun for precipitation. That's why you're getting all the clear, the purified water. It's completely pure, beautiful water that goes down at the center Arctic. It'll go under the earth. There's plenty of fresh water under the earth, nice and cold.
Yep. And
but this
don't forget, John, mainstream science actually agrees with that. They're saying that the sun is throwing off fresh water. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Buford Gaia here, the spiral. And you know all those mythological stories of, ships couldn't get away from the pull, the spiral, or the magnetic field or whatever inside the north. Things like that. But you've got the Irish mythology. Yeah, well, when I realized what was happening here, this hydrogen and helium coming back down through the sun, hydrogen, becoming water again, solid, gas, solid, because up here's the non-physical, down here's the physical. So things start, expanding and, evaporating type thing as you go up here, and it comes back down to earth, solidified basically. So when I realized this was happening, that sort of jerked my memory, and I thought, hey, there's mythological stories, because I looked into hydrogen water, you see, and it's pure, really good water, really good for the human body, or anything actually. But
it wouldn't freeze, right? It doesn't freeze either.
What doesn't? The gases don't.
No. Water when it's completely pure. If I put a bottle of distilled water in my freezer, it will not freeze unless I open the top and let impurities in.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't.
Really?
Put a bottle of Aquafina or Dasani in your freezer, it will not freeze.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What about from our own distillers?
No, that's even cleaner than Dasani or whatever. Yeah.
Oh wow!
So
I gotta try
that.
that.
If you put it in an ice tray, it will freeze, but it won't freeze in like a bottle.
That's great. Not at any temperature?
Not at freezer temperatures. No,
wow.
In order for water to freeze, it needs to have impurities inside of it. It needs to have like something to bond to, like dirt, particles, whatever. But when you distill water, you take that all out, and then it doesn't freeze. There's nothing freezing. Now, as soon as
you told me something I didn't know.
Yeah, and if you start twisting the top, and it's sad because there's people online that make posts or memes that say like, "Oh, Dasani water is terrible for you because it doesn't freeze," and they show this video of them putting it in the freezer and not freezing. But it's not because it's bad for you; it's because it's pure. Because the same thing happens to my water. Anyway, I just didn't know if that had something to do with the center there. and the fact that it's still questionable. Is there land at the North Pole or is it water?
No, there's no land. That's the thing. So you've got a lot of this fresh water. You've got the two seas meeting, the Baltic Sea and the other sea. They don't merge.
I thought there were like
got all that fresh water.
I thought there were like four bodies of water inflowing to the.
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, four waterways, and then you look at those ancient pictures of the creation of Earth. There's 4 rivers, and you got that mentioned in the Bible as well, haven't you? But anyway, it's the two seas meeting. There's a like Carmen line there, and they're not merging. They sort of mix eventually, but you got the salt water and the fresh water. There's so much of it. They can't explain where it's all coming from. They'll say, because the land masses are further south, so not. You could get a bit running off the glaciers and that, and melting of the ice, but you don't get it down in Antarctica, and that's landmass all around there. You should have a lot of that fresh water running into the ocean too. You should see it all because it's actually bigger and more dispersed. But you don't. You only see it up here because it's being recycled back to the sun and dropping down here. And of all the mythological stories, the mist, the Irish mythological story called Tan. What is it going? Tia Nog. Okay. You read it, and it describes this because it's connected to the forever young youth people. And what's the best thing to keep your age down is hydrogenated water. It's pure water. It's a secret. I bet the flipping royal family drink that stuff.
Yeah, well, we all drink distilled water, as pure as we can get it. And of course, the mainstream objects to that and says, "Well, you're getting all your minerals and you're stripping it out of your water," which is a bunch of BS because you get it through your food. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd like to drink that, completely purified water. You do need the nutrients in that and normal water. But what I do is I spin my water. It's a magnetic.
That's good.
Creates a vortex, and basically what it's doing is
Schottenberger, right?
Pardon?
Arthur Schottenberger is the one who came up with did a lot of work with the
originally, but I thought off a young guy American who had to move to South America because they're after him. But anyway, it's a good device, and it spins the water, and basically it's aerating the water, reoxygenating it. And if you're a runner, you certainly know the difference. You have a glass of normal tap water, try and run a mile, then another day, take a bottle of this reoxygenated water, mate. It's so good. It's really good. So that's what's happening. So you look up that mythological story and you find it's about the mist, because there's a lot of mist up there as it's all coming down off the sun. The other thing is the magnetic fields of Earth. If you've got a globe, why is there 2 directions to a magnet, a compass? It should all just flow to the north, we're all told. They say it always points north. Well, it's rubbish. Because this is the way the magnetic field works in the system, just like your electrical system you'd know about, Bob.
That's right.
The electrical potential difference between the northern and southern hemispheres.
That's right. Well, the southern magnetic pole, first of all, is nowhere near Antarctica. And when you get to where it theoretically is supposed to be, you don't get the south pole of the magnet swinging around and pointing towards the south pole. It is, and this is so bizarre too. It is only the North Pole. It's almost like it's a monopole. Now, I've kind of theorized that the North and South Pole are both at the North Pole, but the South Pole is underground.
No, I'll tell you what's happening.
Okay.
This is the way the magnetic field works, right? Comes out of here, comes down to the Tropic of Cancer, goes through the Earth, up here, down here, Capricorn, through the Earth, and back up through here again. That's the figure 8 in alchemy, infinity sign. That's the way the system works. So, anyway, the magnetic field, so you've got 2 of them. So you have to have a northern hemisphere compass and a southern hemisphere compass. Otherwise, if you took the northern hemisphere compass up north here, sure, it'd point to north. But if you went down here, it would point to the south. because the fields are coming up, or they're going that way. They follow the magnetic field, the flow
That's
of the
really
field.
weird because we've seen magnetic declination of 180 degrees, meaning that if your compass is pointing directly north, you need to turn 180 degrees to be correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
there
if you,
are 180, Jeran. I've seen it as high as 172 degrees.
I've seen 179, I guess.
Down around Antarctica.
Yeah.
But that's just what they tell us. How do we know if that's true?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I-
You heard the
I've
BS.
done it. I've tested it because I took a compass because I'm in New Zealand down here, right? So I've got the Southern Hemisphere compass, so it's balanced. It's balanced to point north. So the Southern Hemisphere's north is the tropics, equator. But really, the magnet should be pointing south, but it's just the way they make them. So it's always pointing north. But if you went up here, like I flew from New Zealand all the way to England, and so I took the compass with me on the airplane to check it and the route and everything. And this big Emirates plane flew around the bottom of the South Island. It's like doing the great circle around, following west all the way till it got pretty well direct with north and south, and then starts coming in north towards Dubai. But that time I think I was trying to get some sleep, so I stopped looking at my compass. But anyway, so I get to Egypt. There was a trip to Egypt, and I'm in Egypt there, and the Egyptologist is telling us the entry to the pyramids on the south or whatever side it was. I can't even remember now. And I'm standing there with the compass thinking, what this idiot's I've got the compass here. He's telling me the complete opposite to what my compass is telling me. It didn't dawn on me for a couple of days later. Oh, yeah, idiot, you've got a flipping Southern Hemisphere compass. So you definitely have to have the two different compasses. Apparently there's like five. I don't know where five come into it. But so if you're traveling south to north, you're following these curved magnetic field lines. This is where, deviation, declination all come into it, because you're not traveling a straight line. The magnetic field of Earth curves because we live in this toroidal field. It creates this, spiral type effect. So, and then just the other, and I always wondered with the new computer systems and all that and GPS, are planes actually flying straight now, taking all this calculation into effect and doing a straight A to B flight, or are they still following the magnetic field? Most sailors will be following the compass, so they follow that flipping rum line, that big curve. But Bob, the science guy, the other day, he was showing what they do. It still follows this magnetic field, but they do these calculations or alterations, deviation, variation, whatever. Cut back in, and then they curl back out. Cut back in, curl back out, trying to do this straight journey from south to north. So he showed me. I mean, it was there on his site. So that's how that works. You're always doing these curves here represent this curve here, the meridian over the Earth, as above, so below. And when you get between the tropics here, this is where your compass will be nice and direct, north to south. That's the only place near the equator where you get the accurate reading north to south. Otherwise, you'll be sailing this long route, these magnetic curves. This is all about, this is where all nautical miles come into it, and 60 minutes of arc, 1 minute of arc equals 1 nautical mile, and all that sort of stuff. So it's understanding these magnetic fields here.
Wow, very interesting.
Yeah.
Bob,
And then
I did look it up. It just, it's at 48 degrees Celsius is when it has to freeze.
At 48 Celsius?
48 degrees below 0 Celsius.
Below 0.
Or
Wow.
55 negative Fahrenheit, that no matter how clean it is, it'll freeze. So
Wow. That's cool. Didn't know that. All right. God, this is
So the other thing
Lindsay. Oops.
the other thing is, that's easy to explain that one, but then it gets tricky when you try to explain to people, degree of longitude compared to their ball, how it's reducing back down. But you've got to understand this model and how it comes back down it's a mirror image out here, and that comes back down.
Mhm.
It's mirrored, but overall, it's still the system.
Yeah, I've tried explaining that many times, and I've referred to it as a bundt cake pan, or that it's like a big hallway, basically, not a dome like a snow globe.
Well, overall, you've got this shape, south to the Arctic back down here. So it does look like this, and this is the magnetic, the electrical potential difference. That all the power is inside this choke point. There's just as much energy in here as there is all the way around here. This is more dispersed, and this is shown in the stars out there. All the stars in the southern hemisphere are the same stars as what's in here, but they're parabolically projected, so they're 180 degree off and way more dispersed. And recently I discovered down here in the south, we see Orion upside down. So I saw his bow.
Shouldn't we be able to show that pretty easily? Because I've looked at that before and I've thought that, but no matter what, when I would flip it, invert it, spread it, I could never get a good match.
It's hard. I just have to be out there with binoculars and flipping spot on. Oh my God. And I tried to go back and find it, and it's so hard.
Yeah, it's difficult. But I figured that there's a reason why they have all these constellations, and even the story of the constellations is impossible. There's no way the entire world would have the same constellations from as long back as they say. There wouldn't have been a communication between these people.
There's a totally different shape when you flip it. I think one example was it Ursa Major? Ursa Major and the constellation of Virgo. So you draw up Ursa Major, then turn the page around and then stretch it out. You've got flipping constellation of Virgo, and they were pretty much on that one line, from what I remember. Otherwise, back to the Orion's bow, I thought, well, there's going to be a really big bow diagonally across in the southern field, because from down here in the south, the Orion bow is in the northern horizon.
So what is the Milky Way? Because we don't see the Milky Way here in the north. I don't see it. Not as well as you see it in the south.
Well, that's the thing. I did a video thinking, and I looked online to confirm it, and it sounded like you don't see it in the north and you only see it in the south. So I did a video about that and realized, no, you do. You do see it in the south.
You do see it in the north?
In the north. You just look, and it's way out to the southern horizon, because everything in the north is mirrored out here into the south. And the Milky Way comes out of the center Earth. So when you see it in the night sky, or in the southern hemisphere, it's a bit tricky when you're trying to explain things from the southern hemisphere. Most of these people are in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
But the Milky Way sort of curls like this, heading towards the center north to my equator region. And it just moves over the night, and it'll get to a point where it's directly straight across you, because the Milky Way is actually curved in here. It's like an electrical system, and it's built up pressure, and it's cross-circuited, and the current's shot down across it and goes bang to get your voltage. So it's not dead center. That's the black hole. There's a vortex in it. The Milky Way is curved like this. So it's turning. You'll see the curve over the night as it's moving around the southern sky. But at some point, it'll be, vertically straight ahead of you. And that's when it's over your meridian. And that's when you see it straight. And then it starts curling away again. Because if you can imagine this in the vortex, curling around. And at one point, it's going to curl around and look dead straight towards you, right? That's how it works. So when you see the Milky Way at night, and all these astronomers, you've seen the nice big photos, colourful pictures, and there's a big bright light in the middle of it. They call that flipping Sagittarius A or whatever, but it's the sun. That's the back of the sun. That's the nighttime of the sun. The sun is tucked in. And science tells us it's just floating out there in the middle of flipping nowhere. And it turns.
Bizarre.
And it's a directional beam, but it's all frequency based. And that's what a black hole is all about. It's an amplifier of sound. And you can connect music down here to what's going on up there in the spheres.
So it's like an acoustic resonance chamber type of thing?
Yeah. It's an amplifier. You know, speakers have a big magnet around them. Why do they have a big? It's a similar thing. It's all magnetic fields and amplification of the black hole. And
That's
what the
interesting.
moon does.
And I have to tell you, Lindsay, that our audience, along with most flat earthers, when you use the term black hole, it sends people running, right? It's kind of like if you use the term gravity. And, I've spent a long time, getting people straightened out on what the downward flow actually is. But so you just want to make sure.
Well, and I understand that he's not talking about an Einsteinian black hole, right? I mean, I kind of took that
I know,
for
but
granted.
I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that you just want to make sure that people understand that, because they'll sit there. We had one guy a minute ago, oh, he's talking about black holes. I'm out of here. It's like, dude, he already clarified that. But this is how people react. And then they just, they've got this stigma that's built in. It's like telling people you're a flat earther, right? I'm out of here.
I'll break it down for you. See, the black hole, our whole system is all turning in the one direction. That's due to the vortex. And the center of it's what we call the black hole. I mean, you don't have to, but it creates the solar eclipses and everything because it's all aligned with the black hole, the center of creation. So,
well, yeah, doesn't every magnet have a black hole? It has this counter space at the very center of a magnet where both sides are pulling towards. And there's supposedly, there's nothing there.
He helped me with this model. Kim Wheeler, Santos, and the Egyptians, ancient Egyptian, and all the Christian texts all helped me build this model, and it's undebunkable, I reckon. So the black hole, you just imagine it's just a vortex, and all the action is around the horizon, and that's what moves around us as human beings. But because we have our own arc of horizon, we don't see everything go around us. You can't see everything go around you, but you're only seeing half the world, day and night, right? So things are actually going around us. But in effect, they're moving around the flat Earth. But like I say, you've got to imagine you are from the center as well. So everything is moving around you. So the whole horizon, the sun, stars, planets, they're all moving around like this.
I don't think the moon. Sorry, Bobo.
I was going to say, do you think using the term 0 point might be more a better description?
If you want, but I try to relate it with science so people can sort of compare that and know what I'm talking about.
Well, I understand it, and that's exactly the problem. When people hear the words black hole, they don't think of,
But it's a hole, isn't it? It's the center of the vortex. You call it.
It is, but black holes aren't typically known to be amplifiers. They're supposedly, so the gravitational pull is so heavy, it absorbs everything, light, matter, everything.
Yeah. That's science. But the black hole, it's all about the center. It's a void, and it's the place of rest. Nothing's happening in the center. It's all around the horizon. And that's where we get the sun, all the action. So the void is the place of rest. That's why Earth is at rest, because Earth is from the hole. It's the plane of inertia.
Yes.
From the center of the toroidal field. And the center of the toroidal field has to have this hyperboloid, and on top it's the vortex. If you take just the top half, the V, and even in Plato, he's got the flipping big letter X there, which represents the center of the universe, creation. So, everything gets sucked down on the horizon. Nothing goes through the center of it because it's the void. It's the center of the storm. The eye, what do they call it? Eye of the storm or whatever. It's always a bit peaceful in there,
Yeah. And I agree with you 100%, Lindsay. I really do. All I'm saying is just it's that it has been my experience that you have to be very, very careful the terminology you use, especially if it is the same terminology that mainstream uses as utter bullshit, right? Like the black hole, and in the context that they use it, it's crap. And we know that. And that's all I'm saying is that people will tend to reject you by saying that.
But the thing is, like I've heard you say, you're calling it a black sun. That's the black hole. There's no black sun down here in the bottom of Earth. There's nothing down here affects us. It's all up here, and it's why I call it the black, because that's the blackness that creates the solar eclipses and everything.
Okay, let me ask you something. Since we're on the subject of the black sun, one of the things that we discovered, along with Chris Van Maitre and Crow 777, and even the head astrologer of SLU, the SLU Observatory. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Anyway, he's like this world-renowned astronomer, and he came out and he said, "Look, there is a black sun. NASA doesn't tell you about it. Crow has actually gotten footage of it. We've gotten footage of it from our front yard." And the interesting thing, the ballers came out and said, "No, that's a reflection. You don't know how to use your telescope." But here's the thing that's crazy about that, Lindsay, is that black sun, or whatever it is, that darker object, we can affect it with a Polaroid lens, right? We can phase it right out of existence with a Polaroid lens. You can't do that with the reflection. So that tells me that something is there. And I just wondered if you have any idea. Now, it shows to be, in several different positions of the real sun above the horizon, right? So even though we're calling it the black sun, right, and the black sun would technically be underneath, there still seems to be something up there that is not visible, and that is acknowledged by astronomers and astronomy. And I just wondered if you had heard about that.
No, I hadn't actually. I mean, you get all sorts of stuff online, but I just, quantum mechanics have the whole system just about, but it's all in here. So
okay, well, I'll show it. I'd love to share that data with you, because it's just, I have a feeling that you may be able to find a piece for this puzzle, because we are, I'm not going to say we, I will say I am pretty sure that there is something physical there, because you cannot phase objects. You can't phase reflections out with a Polaroid lens, unless there actually is one condition for that. And there's a specific angle that if it hits the telescope at precisely this one angle, and my wife knows what that's called. I forgot.
I think it's 52 degrees, Brewster's angle.
Brewster's angle, right. If it hits it at Brewster's angle, then it can be a reflection. But we're seeing this dark sun in multiple different positions. And, we don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you.
Well, you probably see that up north. I don't see anything down here. I'm maybe not even looking, but I've got no idea. But everyone needs to realize that everything is moving in the one direction, and it's all thanks to this one spinning vortex.
Yes.
And
it's like the right-hand rule. We have our positive above and our negative below, and all the stars move in that one direction.
Well, I've just done a recent video, because my earlier videos are explaining that creation is the opposite to our physical world. So I've just done a video to show people that it's the sun that's turning and the magnetic field's coming up and out. The sun turns in here in the Milky Way, the magnetic field is going up. So what we know is the current, the electrical, and then getting the magnetic field around it. Earth is sort of like the opposite. But I don't want to get too deep there. But that's how it works. Is that we have to realize the sun is turning. It does turn up there with the Milky Way, and the magnetic field is coming out of the north. And science, I'm sure they know that by now. It should do. Mm-hmm. But I'll just show you something. So anyway, so everything moves around in that one direction, and the sun spirals out from the sun. The sun's in the center. If I can draw that.
Okay.
This is if you look down into the center of the Milky Way, and you could look, you've got your black hole like this, and you've got a sun like that. So, what does this look like? Well, it looks like a beetle, and the Egyptians took going about the dung beetle rolling the sun. Well, the sun rolls around the black hole horizon, or it's the baby in a manger type thing, because the baby looks like a baby. But it's like that. The void center of the black hole is there. The sun is offset to the center. Because the sun is offset, science thinks all the planets do an elliptic journey, but they don't. Nothing goes around the sun. Nothing is quicker No, nothing is as quick as the sun. The sun is the quickest. The sun catches up to the planets. So the planets are on this circular route all the time. And it's the sun moving around in here, which makes science think all this is all elliptical. It's not. The sun catches up and the sun passes it, and that's retrograde. And then the sun moves on, and it makes look, because the sun's moving forward, it makes the planet look like it's going backwards. It gets a bit tricky to explain, but I've done videos on it. But that's what's happening. So at some stage, the sun's catching up, so they think the planet's going this way because they're not counting on the sun moving towards it, so the planet's going that way. Then the sun passes it, and then they're going in the same direction at the same time. And then the planet looks like it's going that way. It's retrograde. Nothing goes past the sun. The sun catches up to it. That's what people need to get their head around. Science has got it all wrong. It's all flipped.
Wow.
And they'll think I'm the nutter. But I'll just show you this to scale. You see that? No, probably can't see it. Oh, here you go.
Yeah, we see it.
Well, there's the 180-degree meridian right there. Now, there's the equator. There's the equator. We'll see that little dot along there. That is the dot of the shadow of a solar eclipse. There's the flipping 10,000 kilometer dome. You try and explain how a sun 93 million miles away can come all this way, go through the earth, and only show a little shadow like that across America in 2017. It's just garbage. It's all coming from here.
Indeed.
Central star. 64 kilometer shadow, I think it was. You put that over the span of the whole earth, it's a flipping dot.
Well, and what's so funny is there's been solar eclipses where the shadow of the sun was as little as 2 or 3 miles in diameter, the totality area. So what's up with that?
Is that a partial solar eclipse or something?
No, that's total solar eclipse. There's been 3 of them in history over the last 150 years or so, where they were, I think it was like two less than 3 miles in diameter. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure enough.
It's all in relation to the declination, because the flat Earth system, it works like this: down and out, all around the southern solstice, down and out around the southern field. The sun always follows the magnetic field. The sun is not an object; it's in the plasma field as a focal point, and it follows the magnetic field of Earth. The magnetic field of Earth is going like this. You see me?
Well, and that makes a lot of sense, because it seems to me like the sun is not behaving as a physical object. However, mainstream science sort of forces us to consider it as a physical object, and so we tend to put rules that the sun must behave in the physical parameters. But if it isn't a physical object at all, then sort of all bets are off, right?
Yeah, and this arc of horizon, well, it coming back to you perpendicular. It explains it all. It never changes size. And, you go out on a ship, get on a ship, go up to the bow, or stern's down there, bow's up there. You'll see the sun coming directly to you, but your partner will be at the other end of the ship and saying, no, it's coming straight to here. It's always coming coming to you, the observer, because you are the center of creation. The light comes back to you at all times. It's all to do with the observer, and it's even in special relativity, but they keep that a bit quiet on the low down. That you can't take any measurements from 2 different locations on Earth. And science then go on to say in their bullshit stories about the distance from Earth to the moon and to the sun. Bob the science guy raves on about it. You can't take any triangulation. You go right back to when they try and explain the distance from the Earth to the sun and where they start. They just start with a pile of BS, and it just builds on that. So they start with a pile of crap, and then they come up with all these flipping equations.
Oh yeah, same thing with the speed of light. It was all in the same vein. Just complete nonsense, and yet we still use their values as scientific fact to this very day.
Well, speed of light, that's basically the resonating frequency of solid matter. Like we're all resonating atoms type thing. And we're all vibrating so fast. That's where they come up with 350,000 kilometers per second or something, isn't it? That we look solid. So nothing in our world is actually solid. It's resonating like that. And that's what you've got to get your head around. Where are we going with that one?
Well, what I was saying is, like, in order for them to get the first estimates on the speed of light, they took like the estimated distance to Jupiter and one of its moons, which of course they're using a heliocentric model, and they're just taking a wild guess to the distance of Jupiter. I think it was Romer or one of these guys, and so that's how they originally derived their estimate of the speed of light. And it wasn't that far off what we use today. But the thing is we don't live in a heliocentric universe, and so any of their first estimates must have been way off. But they call it science, and so we have to believe them.
Nah, it's all bullshit. Like each of the planets probably have their own gaseous layer up here. You know, they tell you the planets are gaseous or whatever, but these different like noble gases, say they're all separated. You can't mix them, and it's like a planet in each layer. And the thing is with the moon, see the moon spirals out from the sun at new moon all the way out across the planets. It's like she's like strumming the strings. The 5 strings, and then goes back. She's feeding them like the children or something, coming out and in. And it's because everything in our world's about frequency, resonating frequencies, and frequency, what's light? And light was light color, light spectrum, all that. So, you know.
Yeah. Hey, Lindsay, can I show you something and you tell me what you think it might be?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to share it right now. I think you can see my black screen, and I'm going to start this. And you tell me what you think we're seeing here.
That's exactly what set me off one day. I saw that too, and I thought, you know, that's when I had this like divine awakening, man. I watched that, and I'd already studied the Aztecs and the Mayans and all that, and the 5 moons or whatever it was. And then when I saw this and thought, shit, there's the 4 suns, and the Mayans talk about the four cycles of time or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it just blew my mind. That set me on this path, this flat-earth journey. I've only been into it for about 3 years. Mm-hmm. But then recently, I just thought it was, it just comes off the lens. I'm pretty sure it's just to do with the lens.
You
of
think
the
so?
airplane and your camera.
Well, because we're getting these from different cameras. Now I've got a ton of collections of these from out the window, from the ground. And these are not, you know, some people say, well, they're actually in the window, which is preposterous. They're not in the window. I believe that they are actually physical objects, and I can't reconcile them as being any type of lens anomaly. So, yeah. So well, you're saying then,
yeah, I wanted to believe that, thinking, you know, they're dead suns, dead moons from the past cycles. But when I've seen them recently, you can see them with the camera and then they'll just disappear when you get your camera aligned to whatever. So I'm not too sure about that. It could be just the camera. I've noticed that last airplane flight I was telling you about, I got them on the window too, and it was the camera.
You know that there are some descriptions of what the Indians call Rahu and Ketu, right? And Rahu and Ketu, mythologically, Rahu is the head of the snake that eats the sun, okay? But at some point, the head of the sun became severed, and then you just had the body. So mythologically, you know, what we're looking here from, you know, when I look at Vedic cosmology, I'm seeing what the eclipsing orb, whatever it is actually eclipsing the sun, and the rest of it is the body. But I mean, what are they? You know, that's the thing really. And I've got so many different collections of videos on these things. I just cannot believe that they are something that is, but I mean, you might be right. I don't know, but it just blows me away. Here's another angle of them, another take completely. I just don't know what to think, but these have always fascinated me.
If you take them from a different angle, you'll find they will move. So I think it's the lens of the plane and your camera jointly, maybe. But I've done a video on Ketu and Rahu. It's not what everyone thinks. See,
well,
Rahu.
My wife believes that they are nodal points as far as the ecliptic positions of the sun and moon.
No, once again, it's connected to Earth and the human consciousness. Severing your head is basically killing off your old way of life, being reborn. And this is about creation. So in Genesis creation, Earth is parallel to man's creation, his spiritual, his second birth, his spiritual birth, and it's all connected. Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the sun, but Ketu, I think, represented the time, and it's to do with the solar eclipse. It's the event and a time, at a time, is what it means. And this is what Tesla knew about. He knew about the divine numbers 3, 6, and 9.
Right.
And this whole Jesus event happened at 3:03 in the morning on the 6th day in the 9th month. It's September, you see. And most of the Christian stories most of the religious stories have got all the dates all muddled up because they're referring to the northern hemisphere, the March equinox and whatever. But it boils down to the southern equinox, September. But March is connected because his, when the egg gets fertilized, what do you call it? That's in March. He was physically born in December, the solstice. His second birth is around in September. So 9 months from March is
Are we talking about the birth of Christ? Or
it's December, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I had heard, I've always heard that, stories like films like Zeitgeist identify that, because the 3 days and then the 3 days that it dies on the cross. So that's the death, I guess. But I always heard that the birth was September 11th. Of course, I have no idea it's so convoluted.
See, there's a connection there. That's what got me off too, because that's the Egyptian New Year. And I thought, no, well, they've got that confused because they must have been referring to the 6th of September and then added the 5 holy days, because Egyptians have these 5 holy days when the moon can only give birth. Those are the solar eclipses, the divine ones that affect a man's brain. So this Jesus story is just all religion comes back to this one divine event. And Jesus is told to us in the Christian story where he's conceived in March, born in December, and his second birth, his spiritual rebirth in the physical world is the September. And that September the 6th is 17 days before the equinox. 17 days is mentioned in the Bible. He bows before the cross, meaning he bows before the equinox, equilibrium, where everything's equal. And the 6th of September, there's a man's awakening and the man's creation and the earth's creation. Earth's creation is basically about the equinox. Man's creation is the crossing of the sun's inner lemma. So that's between what you had in 2017, the full solar eclipse on August the 21st and the 6th of September. You look at the sun's inner lemma and the dates in there. That's man's cross. It's all about the cross. And then 40 days from the 6th of September is the 17th of the second month, which is in Genesis, when the water subsided. Water subsided.
Have you put together a timeline like this? Have you a linear timeline that you put together for this by any chance?
There's no particular time because it happens all the time. It's all reoccurring. And when a man has this divine awakening, sure, he can't wait for the coming of Christ again because it's so divine. But it's always coming because that's the meaning to life. Every man wakes up sick, a second rebirth during his physical life. That's the meaning to life. That's why you have to get yourself in the right conscious state. And to find that conscious state, you have to be searching. You seek and you shall find. So if people are really dumb and just think they live on a spinning ball, they're never going to find the meaning to life. They're just going to go reincarnate.
I think weed helps too.
Well, you know, you got that South American drug that opens up that pineal gland area, and that gives you a good insight. But that's basically a taste of what actually happens, because it's all about the primordial stone coming out of the deep, right? You know, it comes up in the center north and creation begins. You know, Hyperborea, Bim stone, Mount Meru, what do you want to call it, or the magnetite rock.
Right.
And the connection with the human body is the pineal gland is in water. When he's awoken, that water gets flushed through his system. That's Christos Santos talks about. It gets flushed through your system. That's your flood. And your pineal gland is now exposed to the universe, getting more frequencies than anyone else, a higher frequency.
Yes, and you're seeing through your third eye. Isn't it interesting that the pineal gland looks exactly like the eye of Horus? They look absolutely not identical. Really. Oh, they do.
Pineal gland looks
it's like a cross section of it, though. If you were to slice it in half and look at the profile of it, that's what it looks like.
Here, I'll pull it up. It most certainly does. This is the most stunning thing I think I've seen in a long time. Let me pull this up.
You got the pineal gland sitting in the middle of the Vatican. What's it doing there? Oh, they know that's where Christ is. In here.
Okay. Guy of Raw too.
That's the Noah's story, the flood. That's your flood. It's a one-off event, and the earth had a one-off event because everything on the earth came out of the sea. It comes out of the sea, so the land comes up. I can say sea goes down, but everything just comes out of the sea. That's why you got seashells at the top of your flipping mountains.
Okay, so you see what I'm presenting here?
Yep.
Look at these. This is astounding. Here you have the pineal gland, and it is virtually... Now, the eye of Ra, it goes the other direction. I think it's like the other eye. Yeah. But, yeah, I think it is the eye of Horus that does that. And that's just astounding.
I'll tell you what the eye of Ra represents. It represents the it's actually I thought it was a solar eclipse, but it's a full moon. The Jesus story is born on a full moon at 3:03 in the morning. Jesus is gone by 30 minutes. So it's over in 3:33. He's gone. And that's your Passover. And the fish, it's shaped like a fish because the full moon is in Pisces. That's the fishes and fishing stories in the Jesus story. It's all to do with the moon being in Pisces. And it's only in there for 3 days. It's being in the belly of Jonah, in the whale, because he's a fish. 3 days in the belly, but it's the moving of the moon in Pisces, 3 days. And that's your Passover. So the day the man wakes up, that's his Passover. And the Bible says, remember that day, remember your Passover. It's an individual thing. It's not, you don't go to church to get your Passover. You don't go to church to worship someone else. It's about you, the individual.
So during the reign of Roman Emperor Constantine, we all know that he basically decreed royally that now Christianity was the official religion of Rome. And they basically took the old pagan statues, like the statue of Isis became the statue of Mary. They made the actual Christian teachings illegal, and they essentially replaced the true teachings of Christ with Saturnalia, with pagan rituals and things like that. And so the Christianity that we have today is essentially not the same thing that Christ actually taught. And so the fact that we do see parallels between the Roman Christian stories and these mechanisms of reality isn't a surprise. But I just say be careful, because a lot of the stuff that we attribute to the teachings of Christ are not actually the teachings of Christ, but are instead Roman pagan teachings that have been sort of commandeered into the head of the Christian religion.
Well, you've got to see through the fog. They've just commercialized it all. So you start believing them, the church, whatever, put all your money into the church and forget the spiritual connection between you and God. That's what they've done.
And that's right. Yep. And
that all comes back to, they're doing it now with the what have we got here? Understanding corporate law and common law. There's a video out there. The woman explains the whole thing. It's all under the Crown. The English Crown owns all the reserve banks, and they control everyone with this false. It's not even a law. You go into court. It's not a court of law. It's all fake, using your corporate straw man, your name in capital letters. They don't converse with you as a human. It's all BS from a paper.
Yeah, well, they've got like the oh god, I'm losing the terms now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but they have the three entities that are all essentially you. And I'm just totally blanking here, but when I'm not thinking of it, I will. Basically, they're the judge, the attorney, and yourself are all representing different elements of your straw man, playing the roles of. It's just crazy, man. Yeah,
they're all acting, and they'll lock you up for nothing. You can never win if you play their system. But if you go and focus on common law, like ask the judge, or can I see your decree, or whatever you call it? What do you call it when you're going to? I can't remember the word.
Subpoena or indictment.
No, his oath to the law, and he'll go. And he won't show. No, it's I don't know, but he won't show it because it doesn't apply in the court because it's not a court of law. And then you say, well, is this a court of law, or is this a military court? Because apparently they're all run under the military, and they have to tell you. If they tell you it's a military court, you know where you are. You're not going to win. And
yeah,
this is why you don't sign stuff. You ask an actor for his autograph, not his signature. And there's a difference there, you see. So as soon as you put your signature on something, you're signing yourself away to their corporate BS.
Yeah, I mean, so much we've learned that so much words have meanings. They absolutely have meanings. And we have been duped into using an entire vocabulary that really just enslaves us, I think, a lot. It really is quite amazing.
A lot of the court system, crown system, comes out of Plato. But there's a passage in Plato that says when the ruling authority, whatever elected person, comes out of his, retires or whatever, he's to be judged by the people. And if he's found guilty, he gets put to death. Man, wouldn't you like to put a few of these people to death that are running this flipping world at the moment?
Yeah, amen.
They should be following that law too.
Yep.
The people, the poor Canadians up there,
Yep. So, Austin, let me ask you something. Austin, I've noticed you've been kind of quiet, and I don't know if it's because you're absorbing this or if you're finding this along the lines of zeitgeist. What do you think of all this, Austin?
For me, I think that we do see everything that happens in the sky and around us directly correlated to what we experience. And I also think that what Yahusha actually did on the earth is also detailed in that. So I actually don't have any contention with it. I don't agree with the full interpretation of it, maybe, but I do think it's beautiful that we see that. For me, that's more of a confirmation that it's all intertwined and put right in front of us to see it and fully understand it. Not so much that everything is fake from the physical aspect and it's all allegorical. So I don't know if that would answer your question. I actually don't have a problem with it. I think it's very interesting because clearly nature is showing us what goes on inside of us.
I completely agree. And this is great because I think this gives us a lot of common ground to work together on. I mean, I'm finding this fascinating, Lindsay. I mean, what you have presented today, and I'm sure I know you've got tons more, has only made me want to go into your research and look at it even more carefully. And I know I'm going to have a ton more questions.
and he's out there, Lindsay's out there seeking the truth. Right. I mean, and that's really all we can do. And what he finds is going to be different than what I find. But we can definitely come together and talk about it and discuss it. But if you're not out there seeking the truth, you're never going to find anything. You're never going to change anything. But, as they say, knock and you'll enter. And it's the truth. I think it's great. And I think what Lindsay's doing and what he's coming up with is very much in line with a lot of my research and a lot of my conclusions. And we're only getting closer and closer to a full if it's even possible to fully understand the creation. But that's all we're doing, man. We're getting closer to understanding. I think it's great.
Yeah, I kind of have my doubts as to whether or not we were actually ever meant to fully understand creation, but I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to understand it at all. And, I think that's where we're all coming from on this. And Lindsay, I got to tell you, I love your work here. This is so cool. And you seem to take a lot of the lines of like Santos Bonacci and Kenny, Martin Kenny. Do you agree with their work?
I'll tell you a story about Santos.
Okay.
What was I doing? Doing a video on declination, how the seasonal changes occur on the flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting this down and out, up and in thing going on, and I thought I'd take a break, and I walk out there, turn the TV on, and there's YouTube, and straight away Santos Bonacci comes up in one of his videos. Next minute he mentions down and out, up and in. Oh my God.
What?
And correlated with exactly what I was doing. And this is how things happen all the time when I'm doing this model. The flipping Ken Wheeler's confirming something with the magnetic fields and, convergence and all this stuff. And Santos is doing his bit. And the ancient Egyptians with the, sky goddess Nut over the top here and Shu in here holding the sky up, the central vortex, and Jeb down here representing Earth and man, because Earth and man are connected. It's just right here, two hemispheres of the brain, or break it down. It's like a magnet. It all breaks down. So you got the two there, or you break down again, you got the two there, then you break it down again at the roaring 40s or the 65s, because every magnetic field has an electrical, which breaks down again, like half the size will be out here at the roaring 40s and that. That's why you get tornadoes.
I just want to mention that the fact that we are so interconnected with the world, the fact that we're lied about the world from the time that we're very young and just completely misled about everything is, I would venture to say, is probably like the biggest problem we have in our entire society, like worldwide.
It's enslavement.
It is, yeah.
That's all it is. They've got control of your mind. It's all indoctrination. It's the schooling system. They control it. They control kids from 5 years old. Hey, look, we live on a spinning ball, children. So they go through life thinking they live on a spinning ball. And you try and tell them. It seems
like when I've tried to talk to my mom about flat Earth, she doesn't want to hear it still. Like she doesn't care to hear it, doesn't care. And the reason is because she thinks it doesn't affect her. But that's just not understanding the problem and not wanting to even think about it, really.
Yeah, same here. My father, mother, anybody, whole family actually. They got mad ass. So adamant that they live on a spinning ball because their teachers at school told them.
Right, but like, look,
it's
so
crazy.
You have the electromagnetic field in your body. So you have a toroid around you, like literally, and you can look at like Heart Institute studies and stuff. It changes how big it is based on what you're expressing, like love or fear. It gets smaller. Also, you have like the rainbow that shows you a little glimpse into the container. It has 7 layers, and the colors are just like the 7 chakras or just the energy within you. Like so, and that's why the Earth looks like an eye. And I agree with a lot of stuff. I also think it's interesting. You see the sun, and if it were to represent your life or light within you, what do you see happen every day? It goes down, right? But then it comes back up. So I think we have a lot of the stuff that we see are supposed to show us about what's going on inside of us in our spiritual journey, right? Like I think we're literally experiencing the world showing us what's going on inside. I think that is the big trick that they lied for, right?
Yeah, you just summed it up there. It's all connected with the big picture and the human body. The human body is a fractal of the Earth. So you got the toroidal field, your 7 chakras. Your bottom chakra, the red, where is it? Way down at your dung gate. That's considered as hell. You've got to raise your kundalini up to the mountain. Rise up. Daniel, you'll see further. That's a bit different. But anyway, you've got to rise it up, and that's to get to the higher frequency and get connected. And if you get up there and you're in the right mental state of mind, bingo, you have this enlightenment. That's how it all works. That's the meaning to life. Get out.
I get there when I'm playing the guitar. Like if I get into playing, And again, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I mean it. A little bit of weed doesn't hurt either. I get there, man. Yeah.
Probably right. But to get the divine awakening, you have to be really thinking about something like creation and how the sun works or whatever. And it comes because your mind is open to the universe and it feeds. Like I read some philosophical story about we don't actually think, we just open our mind and all the information's out there. It'll come in when you open your mind. So you have to seek to find. So you got to think, open your mind and really think. It's like getting into, sync. Like
that's also what Nikola Tesla said.
Yeah. Things start coming in when you're on a roll, eh? So
what they call the what, Austin? The Tesla set?
That's what Nikola Tesla said as well, right? He said he came up with all of his invention, all of his information was basically downloaded into him and existed in the ether around him, and then he would have all it is that you have to remove all the barriers between your brain and interpreting the signals in the ether.
Yeah. Well, you've had so many past lives anyway. You might have all the information stacked in there somewhere. I don't know, out there. No, it is out there.
Yeah. So what is
nothing's new under the sun.
What is your take on the luminiferous ether?
The what?
What is your take on the luminiferous ether?
Luminescent ether.
Luminiferous ether. The ether. The ether is basically the background fabric that everything is created from. They say that it is like the background medium that light propagates through, for example, because light is, they say it's a wave, but a wave is what something does, not what it is. So what is it waving? What is it? And they say that it's luminiferous ether.
Well,
and Einstein supposedly
that dark energy, don't they?
Well, yeah, it's all about the base energy. But Einstein, with a swipe of a pen in special relativity, eliminated the ether when all of our mathematicians and physicists, that had been getting along with, a very good model of physics, using the ether, they
just trying to hide,
got rid of it.
They're just trying to hide the moving magnetic field, the toroidal field of Earth, the whole magnetic flow. It's the energy coming out of the black hole, out of here. You don't want to call it a black hole, call it a vortex, out of the vortex.
That's right. It's kind of like, and you realize, did you ever see the movie Behind the Curve yet, Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay, you know the guy in there that said, "Well, we found the 15 degrees per hour rotation." That's me, right?
Yeah.
That's me.
Making a fool of us flat earthers.
Well, here's the thing about that, and I've been a believer in the ether forever because it has to be. It simply has to be. And not only that, every physicist to this day, unless they are, bought into the Einstein philosophy and hogwash, essentially, will say, no, the ether doesn't exist, and that's the end of it. But the bottom line is what we, I should say, detected when we fired up that $20,000 or actually $12,000, $15,000 fiber optic gyro was a 15-degree rotation of the ether, because the ether is propagating in a toroidal type of fashion. It has a hyperboloid. Is that what I want to say? And it has a centrifugal. It has two sides to it, which are going through essentially counter space, right? And there were two ways that we were able to figure out that it is in fact the ether that is turning and not the Earth. And obviously we know the Earth isn't turning, but the ether, that was determined over 100 years ago when Michelson Gale did their famous experiment where they detected the rotation of the ether going around the Earth in one day. But we actually, in FE Core, came up with a little bit better methodology in that understanding that if the ether is propagating in a toroidal fashion, right, then it would have a change in rotational rate, right? So what we came up with is we said, okay, we did some measurements at the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado, which is at 14,125 feet. And then we went directly east on the exact same latitude line, about 10,000 feet lower, because you can get away with that in Colorado. So we had about a 10,000 foot variance, and we got over a degree, well over a degree of variance on that ether. Now, if you're on a ball Earth, that can't happen, because the ball Earth isn't going to sit there and change variance and speed. But if you're measuring a vortex and it's behaving like a tornado, essentially, whether you're on the centripetal or centrifugal sides, you're going to have higher points of rotation and lower points of rotation. And if you are tracking that on the exact same latitude line, which we did, we had a very significant change. But they didn't put that in the movie. They wanted the movie to make us look bad. And so they absolutely didn't put, they were fully aware of it, but they just ignored it, and they didn't want to have anything to do with it. But so with that, it's great when you have a little cool toy like that, the fiber optic gyro. But we use it in navigation. The Sagnac effect is used in navigation. The ether is there. It has to be. There's no two ways about it.
I know the Earth's flat, so I know there's some anomalies going on with what you're doing. So I went deep into an article, and basically it was telling me, because this is the magnetic fields here, right, curving like this. They curve into the equator like that, tropics. It was telling me the gyro compass follows this and then shoots back, because the fields are always doing this all the way around Earth. It follows this and then it'll shoot back and start again and work like this. It sort of added up. It made sense to me. The gyro compass is following the Earth's magnetic field.
The gyro compass?
Pardon?
The gyro compass?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually bought a gyro compass in FE Core, and it was interesting, and we're still kind of playing around with it, but I am of the opinion that it is still using, what's the effect when it goes down through the copper pipe?
Lenz's law.
Lenz's law. I still believe that it's using some part of Lenz's law because of an experiment that you did, Zach. When you started spinning the gyro and then put the magnet up to even the brass, and it repelled away from it, which again tells me ether spinning. And that's exactly how the gyro compass is working. It's tracking the spinning of that ether and telling us we're true northers. Now, of course, the globers will tell you that it's doing that because the Earth is spinning, which is preposterous, right? But I think there's a better answer, and I think that's it. But you may have even a better answer. I don't know.
It's the magnetic field moving a magnetic field, and isn't the gyro compass about moving electrons or something? But,
well, the gyro compass is they use it on board, like sailboats and stuff like that. And basically, what it is when it spins up, it automatically finds.
Yeah. The purpose of those is to avoid any metal and other things, anomalies that might stuff it up. That's That's why it's better than a compass, a standard compass. That'll be affected by all sorts of stuff around it. The gyro isn't.
Right. But the globers tell you that it's because of your spinning that it finds magnetic north. That's not true at all.
No. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, if they're flipping going to deviate 15 degrees per hour, what the hell are they putting them in ships and airplanes for?
Exactly. You know what's interesting about that too is because of the fact that it does, and we actually put it on video showing this not only 15 degree per hour spin, but we're also seeing activity on the X and Y axis as well as the Z axis that is indicative of a torrential or toroidal action going on, a vortexual action. Well, I mean, everything points to it.
With the magnetic fields curving like this, and they're curving like this, if you sort of do some experiments working on that and just see how it goes. They call these rum lines and something else. Can't remember now. But yeah, once you understand the flow of it.
You're talking about the ley lines?
Ley line, yeah, you can call it that if you want. But, they spiral out of the center, Basically, the magnetic field is always
Well,
flowing
so
like this.
like the what I mean when I say the ley lines, you've got these interconnecting magnetic flux lines all over the world, and you tend to find like monolithic sites like the pyramids and different places of power on the intersections of these ley lines. They're geomagnetic lines.
Yeah.
Like there's a great big one that goes up the East Coast. The 188 ley line is a big one.
Yeah, well, it's connected to the these fields here that come down. I'd say both sides of the tropics there, but I haven't really looked into that too much. But
okay,
they're all in within that close to that tropic region, aren't they?
Yeah, and it just tells me we have more to talk about on this because I think these things are positively connected.
Yeah, you always see the ley lines on the globe in like mainstream documentaries, but if you apply it to a flat Earth, it looks more like a spider web of lines. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So, but check out the primer fields. That video 4 was quite interesting.
I absolutely will.
And understanding these tropical regions, you've got a little moisture in here, but then you have the dry out here where the field's coming down here. You got the moisture rising up here to low pressure, the high pressure coming down here. Get the deserts, the sandy areas on this side. But there's a lot to it. You just can't explain it in 5 seconds to somebody asks random question, which is like a minute puzzle to the flipping ginormous, overall picture.
And I agree with you. And one thing that I will say also, Lindsay, is that we have learned the hard way. I mean, like my wife has a very unique way of looking at things, and she's, gifted when she looks at, magnetic patterns and stuff like that. And she can explain it to me. And sometimes it'll take days, weeks, months before I actually understand what she's saying. Same thing goes with a lot of the stuff that Santos Bonacci said. And a lot of the stuff even that Ken Wheeler says. It's like you've got to hear it not only, I think, multiple times, but you've got to hear other people's takes on it. And this is what I want to do with you in this, because I really believe, Lindsay, that you are onto something here big time. And I think it is absolutely connected in big ways to the way we're looking at this model. And I think the more ways that we can put this viewpoint out there, that other people start catching on to it and are able to contribute to it, I think this is where we're really going to get a massive influx of information. Not so much that you would understand it better, even though I'm sure that you would, but so that our audience understands it better. Because really, if we don't get it across to our audience, what good is it, right?
True. That's right. But the funny thing is how the ball works out so much with the flat earth design, but there's more answers in the flat earth design when you go deep and understand the whole thing and how it's connected to the human brain. So the spinning ball just leaves you out there in dodo land. It's spinning in the middle of nowhere, flying nowhere, really fast for no reason, But this connects you to the godly thing, the meaning to life. But a spinning ball, no. It's like, in 100 years' time, the kids will go through school, come out of school thinking NASA built the world. That's how bad it'll get if you keep following science.
Bob, can you explain something for me real quick? It's a question I had about the ring laser gyro or whatever, or fiber optic gyro. So if you've got this interferometry going on and we start spinning it, the apparatus, and so now we know that the light going in the direction of spin is going to take longer. How is that possible if we have a spinning Earth with an atmosphere moving with it? Wouldn't it also be true that on a spinning platform that the atmosphere carrying the light with it would also move with the spinning platform?
That is an excellent question, and one, honestly, it took me a long time to figure this out. You know how they have the calibration procedure that is absolutely incredibly in depth that they have to do with the ring laser gyros before they take off on an airliner, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so it just so happens that, I am virtually certain that NASA has already got this information of the vortexual movements of the ether for both the centrifugal and centrifugal lines of force, and it is that one module in there. I forgot what I called it. It's been a long time. It's the one module in there that actually counters that. It actually is able to remove that particular movement, so that it then has essentially a zero movement ether. Okay, because remember, when I first started talking about the fiber optic gyro, I was certain, that it was going to be very sensitive and everything. But what I didn't think is that it was going to be moving. Right.
I've got a quick question. Is the same deviation or drift or whatever found on a physical mechanical gyro? Like one that you physically spin up, or is it just on the ring light?
It will. It'll follow the magnetic field a bit.
The reason I ask, isn't there some secretive patent-protected software? I think it's like Honeywell or somebody owns the rights to the closed-source software that ultimately governs these ring laser gyros. Right. So, basically, what I would say is if it doesn't show up on the mechanical gyros and it does on these that have secret protected software, trade secret protected software, then you can't necessarily trust it. And until you understand that software that you...
Right. Or if you build it, right, you build the machine, you know that you didn't cook anything into it, because it's very easy to cook any result that you want into it.
Right. And you're right, John. And Lindsay, you're also correct. Especially in the case of the gyro compass, North actually does affect it through the what you call it effect. Damn it, Zach. What is it?
Staniak? Oh no.
No, the
Lenz's law.
Lenz's law, through Lenz's law. Okay. But like I said, the thing that really surprised me was that it seemed like the ether itself was moving, and you could see this. You turn it on, you can see it actually moving. It's like, wow, that would make it really difficult.
What is Lenz's law? Pretend I'm a dummy and I don't know what Lenz's law is.
Okay, I'll explain that in just a minute. Let me get this question answered for Jeran, and then I will explain it to you. So, essentially, the black box that is only serviceable by Rockwell or Honeywell, right? The one we're talking about in I forgot the module that it was called, for the ring laser gyro navigation unit, right? That is the one that is only serviceable by NASA because there's classified data in there. Okay. That's all fine and dandy. Now, as far as Lenz's law, what that is you've seen where you can take a regular ball bearing or something like that and drop it down through a copper pipe and it'll just fall straight through. But if you take a magnet and do that, it slows way, 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 way down, and it takes several seconds for the magnet to drop down through the little brass pipe or whatever. Have you seen that, John?
Here's the video.
I can't say that I have.
Okay. Well, I can. Let's see. Let me see if I can pull it up here. But essentially, what's happening there is when the magnet is going down the pipe, it is inducing an electrical field because the magnetic field is moving. And when you have a moving magnetic field cutting across a conductor, it then induces an electric current. And then conversely, the electric current starts flowing in the magnetic conductor, and then it induces a counter polarity magnetic field, which is in opposition to the magnetic field that's going down through it, and it slows down. So let me see if I can pull up a video on Lenz's law here, and I can show you this really quick. And this is, without a doubt, in my mind, how these gyro compasses are working.
It has to follow the magnetic field, otherwise, what's it good for?
You're right. Everything follows the magnetic field.
Right. It'd be the same thing that was being picked up in Aries failure, or what's the word I'm looking for? Stellar aberration. That's what those guys were trying to measure, and they were essentially trying to prove exactly how fast the spinning ball was going. And time and time again, they found that it was stationary. Right. Like these are globehead guys. But anyway,
this is the silly thing. I haven't even got onto these star trail things yet. You know, I can prove. I've proved with the star trails that the southern sky rotates around the central northern rotation, and no one's come up and backed me up. But you take the star trails.
You're talking about when you show that what everybody's seeing. So the biggest problem with the flat Earth for anybody is the southern stars. If you're at the bottom of South America, South Africa, and Australia, they're saying everybody sees the same stars, and you're showing that it's just a reflection of the north at different portions of that turn, correct? Different segments of the whole turn.
Well, it's a parabolic reflection, so it's 180 degree off, but it's more dispersed out south because it's wider.
Right.
This week, what do you think you get the sun's dilemma looking like that? Because the southern field is a lot wider.
Right.
But science
crazy, man. That's pretty crazy.
But I can take star trails photography. You still there?
Yeah, no, I just switched over to the screen.
You can take star trail photography. I'm 37 degrees south, so I aim at the celestial equator, which is 37 degrees north. And if I take a video star trail, I can get the curve of the northern horizon in the distance, and then I get the curve of the southern field coming over my head, nearly meeting at the celestial equator there. And there's always those straight lines between them, which is where Orion's belt goes through. It goes through dead straight through this. Can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's always moving around
here.
here.
Bring it back to you. I'm sorry.
Orion's belt is always moving around this tropical region.
Right.
We see it for 9 months of the year. The other 3 is lost in the face of the sun. So that's another thing. They can't even explain that science properly. How do you see Orion's belt for 9 months of the year going around like that on the dark side, the nighttime side of Earth for 9 full months, and then all of a sudden it's lost in the sun, which means you'd have to bring it between the Earth and the sun. But in the flat Earth, it's easily explained. Orion's belt is always moving around here in a beautiful straight line. So anyway, back to the star trails, you get like from down south, you get my north and the far horizon, then I'll get the sun come down. I'm in the southern field. And if you can use Orion's belt as a reference point, it's all the better because you get the beautiful straight line going through your star trail film. So you can get them linking like that beautifully, dead north and south. So on your meridian, right? Your zenith. But over the night, you can take 3 or 4 shots. I think they last about 2 and something hours. You just move your camera slightly. You can get a couple more easterly or a couple more westerly. And things warp, but all you're concentrating on is the 2 points of the curves, northern and southern horizon meeting, both sides of Orion's straight belt. And it just shows you that the southern field is continuously moving around the northern central field. It's like 2 cogs clinked together. It's like the flipping.
Growing up on the world, completely imbued with the belief that it was a spinning ball in outer space, right? Like traveling 5 different directions at once. I've completely bought into that whole cosmology for the majority of my life. But I always thought that it was strange that you could see, especially Orion in the northern hemisphere, almost all year round. Like not every night, but pretty much every night. Right. And, you'd expect, especially, completely now understanding in flat Earth, but you would expect, growing up in this belief, that you would have completely opposite views towards visible space. You're supposedly moving around the sun, moving through space. And yet I could never come to terms with that specific thing. Like, wow, the stars don't change. And especially like historically speaking, you'd expect the constellations to change over time and stuff, and they never did. But, we just keep on believing that it's a globe. But it makes so much sense under a flat Earth cosmology. And it's a shame that people aren't studying the stars enough because, it seems like there's definitely something to it. Like, it, resonates down here in the physical realm.
But the really stupid thing is even the star tracker or the equatorial mounts, they're following the star. It's the star on one of the rotation out here. If you're out in the southern field, you'll see it do this curve. a little bit tricky to explain, but it's part of this rotation. And instead of knowing the sky's doing this rotation around the northern hemisphere, they go, "Oh, it's us on the ball moving. Look, we're all going around the sky."
It's ridiculous that they think that. That's why sometimes I have a hard time believing that these.
It probably took me half an hour with a telescope looking at the moon and the stars to figure that out. And you've got astronomers for flipping hundreds of years and never figured it out. And no one's coming out to back me up though. But I know what it's doing. It's just stupid. Because once you realise, like it's a mesh, this cog turns with this cog, and this one's always moving around. There's always a reflection of the night sky because it's coming from the centre. So all the night half of Earth, there's always a rotation because this is always turning. So it's always a reflection out here, reflection here, reflection here. Wherever you are out south, you'll have from your north to south is your horizon. That's where you'll see your rotation. And it moves around.
Right. So if you look north,
over 24 hours.
You look north and the southern is right behind you, exactly parallel or exactly perpendicular.
Which if you're north or south, you look dead north or south.
Right.
That's your perfect horizon view of the rotating skies.
Correct.
Once you start kinking the camera off to a different angle, things start warping.
Right.
But if you just concentrate on the 2 points where that curve, where the Orion's about in the middle meet, that's all you need to look at. Forget the rest of the
things that are untrue too. They always say like, oh, if the Earth was flat, the star trails would be elliptical. They wouldn't, and they are. They're not circles. It's just computer software makes them circles.
But they're just full of it.
Lindsay. So I've never been to the southern hemisphere, but I know that if you point basically like a time-lapse camera at Polaris anywhere in the northern hemisphere, you're going to get essentially the perfect target, like the bullseye around Polaris. But as far as
you won't see Polaris. You don't see Polaris from the south.
No. That's what I'm saying in the north, but in the south, if you point your camera towards, say, like I know there's no star that's parallel to Polaris in the south, but if you could just point your camera at a point in space that's central to all the other stars at that time, that you don't get the same effect in the south, do you? Like that point will move through space, right?
No, you see, this is what people can't get their head around. Polaris is Sigma Octantis. It's the mirror image.
Okay.
Because it's bigger and further
it's just
out.
Faint, right? It's faint because it's way at the outside.
It's fainter.
And because it's a reflection, it moves. It's not physically moving. It's the reflection moving.
I don't know what I'm saying
Lindsay. What I'm saying is because the point in space in the south, you can't focus on it with the stationary time lapse. It's moving. So, but I mean, in the flat Earth, that's just the reflection moving. It's not the physical object moving. Right? Am I right? That's why I'm asking a question.
Okay, which is the physical object you're talking about?
Well, right. There is no physical object. Right.
They're all holograms projected from the center. So the center, out of the center core, the spinning vortex is the whole pattern of stars, and it turns. So as the center turns, it's sending a picture out, because that goes all the way out to the equator, the northern horizon, that picture, and a parabolic mirrored effect creates a verticalish one on this curve. That's what parabolic reflections do.
Let me mention, not to interrupt, but let me just mention something to you. So a friend of mine, they actually was the pastor at a church. They had in their garage a koi fish pond, but in the koi fish pond they had two fountains right in the middle. And so the fountains created, if you're looking down from the top, it would look like a figure eight, like it was two circles of fountains, perfectly circular. And if you took a laser pointer and you're standing on the side, any side of the figure eight, and just point it through the two circles of water, it projected stars, hundreds and hundreds of stars everywhere, just the reflecting, just a single laser pointer. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I actually took pictures of it and I put a video up. It's on my YouTube channel. You can kind of see it. It's from a long time ago. But it was interesting, and it got me thinking, about applying that to the flat Earth model. If you have something similar with this sort of dual, it's like a vortex, but you have the the profile of it, like a bundt cake or whatever, right? It just kind of parallels that same setup of the two fountains, with the two fountains being, like a magnetic field. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I did it. I got a fish bowl. It has to work with clear acrylic, because the clear acrylic acts like the moisture in the atmosphere. So you spray the outside, just half of the fish bowl. I've got a big fish bowl. I sprayed half of the outside with black and got some lights up here and rotated these lights. And what happens? You get the rotation down here. And it set up all the holographic stars in here.
Can you show that video?
It looks awesome.
Yeah, can you show that video? It's a great video.
Well, I can't do it on the site. On the top of that stuff. You'd have to go to my site and check it out. But you'll see that.
I can show it.
Okay, if you can find it. But also at the same time, a mate of ours, an Australian, really strong accent, forget his name, forget his site. He's done the same thing, and it works. Oh, he did the this image here over to here, but I showed all the stars floating in here, and it looked flipping awesome. It'd been an awesome kid's toy. I wanted to do this model. I wanted to have it made in acrylic, a decent size, and they wanted $35,000, and it would show the whole design of Earth, because you need that central vortex. This part here would have to be separated. That turns, and you have the lights in here, and it would send out a rotation out here, and all the holographic stars just floating in here.
Wow.
Probably turn into something.
We need a Chris Pontius video for that, or Chris Pontius model for that. Oh,
and so, hey,
hang on
sorry.
A second, John. What's the video called, Lindsay?
Oh, sorry, mate. I have no idea. It's just, you'll see a fishbowl, black fishbowl there.
I'll see if I can find it, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then let me go ahead and show. I think this is what you were talking about earlier. So let me do this. So, oh crap. Let's see. Let's take you off.
And is it okay if I ask a question?
In a second, I want to go through this, because this is what I think what he was trying to get across a minute ago. Let me make sure this is it.
Okay.
And another objection or question I've heard.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
All right. So let me back this up just a little bit, because this is exactly how, and this is how a equidistant or an EQ mount telescope works, right, Lindsay? And this is what you were talking about earlier. And it's very simple. And one thing I did want to say about that really quick is that there's a guy, a kind of an amateur astronomer named AJC 1984, I think, is in this community. Anyway, AJ.
1844.
1844, right. Okay, so he said that when you look at the ephemeris and also these planet, the rotatable planet things, when you look at those, basically it breaks down the constellation, the southern constellation, into its constituent stars. In other words, there is no stationary star. There is no South Pole, right? There is no South Pole star, right? But the constellation that makes up Octanus down there is actually made up from three plus stars that actually exist about 120 degrees apart from each other, which I thought was really interesting. Now,
so how do you know that's not the Sun, Venus, and Mercury?
I don't.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it is.
Okay.
And that's what's around the Sun, the central vortex.
Okay. Polaris. So then tell me what you think about this. Now, I explained the operation of the EQ telescope essentially using this gradual or this video.
12,000 diameter circle. So as you move.
So basically what's happening is if you use an EQ mount and you're on the right underneath the North Pole, right, you're going to see everything going directly over the top of you, just like this, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then if you go down a little bit, down south, whatever direction, move away from the North Pole or South Constellation, right? Then you have to realign that EQ telescope to either Polaris or Sigma Octantis, right? And then what it does is it just gives you a vector to all the stars that are now rising over here and setting over there, just like this thing is showing. So
because Polaris has gone down on your arc of horizon. That's what an equatorial mount is. It's showing you your dome, your arc of horizon. It has to know where you are as zenith to set it up to follow the motion of a particular star. And they try to deny this arc of horizon, your own personal arc of horizon. But what do you think Stellarium is on your phone app? It looks like a dome. Oh, and they want to know exactly where you are.
So,
okay.
Yep. And that's exactly what he compares it to here is that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Everybody has
so
that.
I live in the northern. I live in the northern hemisphere, and if I point a telescope at Polaris tonight and come back in a week, it'll still be pointed at Polaris. 2 weeks, Polaris. A month, a year, 10 years, 50 years, it's going to be always at Polaris. If you do the same thing in the south, what's going to happen?
The same thing.
Same thing.
But no
Same
matter,
thing.
because every person on Earth around the
Well,
south.
no, and what I mean, hold on, wait a minute, wait. And I don't mean Polaris. I mean a point in the south comparable to Polaris. So Sigma Octantis. Right.
Yeah, Sigma Octantis.
So what's going to happen?
That will always be directly, because wherever you are on the Earth, you are between north and south. So dead south from you is the center. That's Sigma Octantis. And we know Sigma Octantis and Polaris do a small rotation. They're not dead center. That's what the sun does. It's not centered.
Okay. So the videos, the time lapses I've seen of the south are wrong then. Because what I've seen in time lapses is like if you focus a point that's central to all the other stars in the south, it'll stay central for a time. And then after, I don't know, an hour or 2 hours of the time lapse, that point moves. It shifts through space degrees. It moves.
Where have you seen that? Can we see that, John?
Yeah,
are you
there's
talking
videos.
About using an equatorial mount? If it's
no.
Fixed. Well, if you're fixed, south will always stay there. But if you're using an equatorial mount, it'll trace it west. Everything's moving west.
Not south, the direction of the stars.
Well,
I mean, of course you're going to be facing. Of course you're going to be facing south. I mean, I guess that was more.
Yeah. See.
Just never mind.
Okay, so just imagine your northern horizon. It's dead flat. I mean, not dead flat, but it's flat. The sky up there is flat. So you go stand underneath it. You get everything going around you beautifully. This one star, you can track it all the way around. But if you go down south and try and do it, don't track it. Just have your camera fixed at the southern Sigma Octantis. The stars never do a full rotation. They only go about 37 degrees or something. Then they disappear and other ones will come in because they're all moving west all the time. The circulation is always moving out
and daylight,
of your horizon.
And daylight comes about also, right?
And then daylight creeps in. But everything is winding right around the Earth back to the same place the next night.
Right. So you see what's happening on the diagram here, right? And we can do this either way, and you can akin it to putting a bowl up there, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is great. Let's listen to P-Brain for just a second.
Active at the North Pole.
All right. And of course I hit it right exactly where it comes into the big pause. And start talking, P-Brain. Start talking, P-Brain. I always do that. Well, at least I get the same point consistently. Okay. Okay, here he goes.
So as you head south, the solid bowl starts to tip onto its side. And so that, let's say you travel 3,000 miles south of the North Pole, everything would be rising in the northeast, sweeping out over the southern sky and setting in the northwest, like this, right? And if you go all the way to the equator, Polaris would now be sitting on your northern horizon. The solid bowl would be completely tipped on its side, and half of it would be below the horizon. And now all the stars would be coming up east to west. And so the sun would also rise east to west. And now that's a hard one to visualize. because if the stars are all rotating like a big disk around Polaris in the sky, a big flat disk, or if they're not a disk, they're a big dome, whichever one they are. If that's the case, and if it's a big flat disk and it's just perspective that's bringing the stars down, well then.
Say again?
It's not the case because you have a dual system. You people see everything up north. Down south is another image. I mean, it's the same picture, but it's a different image. So you don't have one set of stars. You don't have one set of stars rotating over the whole flat Earth. It's a dual system.
You're saying it's one system that goes to the equator.
Yeah, that's the main system. That's the main picture. And this is why Set was upset, because he only gets a reflection. That's why he's jealous of Osiris. He's only an image and a reflection of the north. Everything comes out of the center north to the iris, the tropics. But Seth's out here in the south. He's only getting an image.
I mean, if we can prove that, if we can show that, that's the biggest thing that could come out ever.
I could show that in a model. You need an acrylic model. It's going to cost you $35,000.
I'm more talking about if we can take and I forgot what they're called, a planisphere, I think. And usually those come in a north and a south disc, right? There's a disc, and if you live in the south, you put the south disc on. Is that what it's called, planisphere? I don't know what I'm thinking of. You know?
Yeah, it's called a planisphere. That's correct.
Yeah. So if we can show that the northern planisphere is the same as the southern, just reversed, inverted, and spread out, if we can show the correlation there, I mean, that's the biggest news to happen.
But people have looked for years and they reckon it doesn't work, but I'm pretty sure science would know. They got billions of dollars worth of satellites, NASA and them.
So, but what you're saying is it's not just a mirror image, it's also stretched out. So there is some disproportionate scaling there.
Yeah, and it's 180-degree flipped. So you've got to know what you're looking at.
That actually makes some degree of sense then. Yeah, you'd have to, that's
two
that's
examples
interesting.
I've given you, if you can check, that you draw up.
What about the Milky Way then? Is the Milky Way duplicated?
Yeah, you should be seeing that on your far southern horizon too at night. So those two examples I gave you was Ursa Major. You draw it up, then flip the page over, and then match it up with the constellation of Virgo. Or you look for Orion's bow, and then go diagonally 180 degrees across with your microscope or telescope and look for a real big arc. And you'll see it there.
I'll say, hey.
Pardon?
Sorry.
Well, we should be able to map out a rate that is stretched.
Well, it's going to stretch.
The map is the rate it stretches out, right? We should
stretches right out. Probably twice the size.
Stretch all the way out, but it'd be at the same rate if it's just all going out in the magnetic field. I mean, you would be able to actually map out the rate of stretch. I think it would be pretty tedious. I would imagine that this has never been done with any resources.
It's tricky because once I found it, I blew my mind. I wanted to go back and look at it again. I couldn't find it. I think I found it later on, but it was really, really hard. But you need good telescopes and stuff. But that you see Orion's bout down here, he's upside down, so his bow is in the northern horizon. So obviously the other one's going to be in the southern horizon, 180 degree out, and that's where I found it.
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll bring a federal criminal complaint against the Vatican for the world's biggest observatory. All the documents and observations they hide, make them reveal it because they broke the U.S. code for fraud.
Can you believe they named one of their I think one of their biggest telescopes Lucifer? I mean, that's just ridiculous, man. Yeah. So in your face.
I just say some people, people think Lucifer's a bad thing. Lucifer represents the enlightened one who's come up and
not knowledge and
he's been reborn, and then the sun comes up the next day. He's this new world, this new creation. People who have been enlightened wake up in the morning, go outside and go, holy shit, all the colors, they're freaking brighter.
Yeah,
because you're on a lot of frequency.
Yeah, a lot of times Lucifer is associated with Satan, but Satan is the adversary. And so I mean, it really gets confusing, and you can't blame people because we have no idea half the time.
Well, you just look at the people running the world today. They're evil. They're satanic. And they must know stuff.
Well, and isn't it according to
to be honest.
According to the Christian sort of dogma, Lucifer would have been the one that entered the Garden of Eden to to lead Adam and Eve astray, or really to give them discernment, right? I mean, before that, they were just sort of walking around, didn't know the difference between right and wrong.
So is that what people want to be, John? You think? I mean, is Christians? Do Christians wish that they were robotic like Adam and Eve and only had no knowledge of good and evil? Is that the?
See, that's the thing. If you actually look at the Hebrew words, man, if you actually look at the Hebrew words, it doesn't say that a snake came and talked to them. It like actually uses the word to divine something. That's what it says in Hebrew, like as if you think of something, as if Eve was inside herself, talking to herself,
thinking about that, right?
Divining the possibility.
Adam and Eve.
The Hebrew actually says
Adam and Eve represent the two halves of man. He's a dual system. Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve. Even the word Jesus is representing the two halves of a man, his physical and his spiritual. You have to reach singularity, just like the earth. All goes back to singularity, this single point in here. Out in our realm is a duality. Everything in the physical world is a dual system. Back in there. So
and Adam, of course, Eve was also made from Adam's rib, right? Or ribosome.
Yeah. Well, where the rib story comes into it. I've lost that one. I've forgotten.
We have one less rib, right?
It's to do with the toroidal field, one half of it, I think I can't remember now, but it's the rib cage that brings the story together, like an apple, I suppose.
I have a feeling there's several little things like that to bring it together.
Yeah.
Everything that exists.
Confusing because they mix
everything as the golden ratio.
Pardon?
Sorry, go ahead.
Everything is basically phase conjugate via the golden ratio.
What I thought was so interesting about that story was, and again, we're just humoring the story, but it sets this whole narrative up where God created the birds, two after their kind, one male, one female, so they could procreate, and it mentions that specifically about all these different animals, the whales, the fishes, the birds, the da-da-da-da. But then when he gets to man, he creates one dude by himself and then wonders why he's lonely and creates Eve as an afterthought, completely abandons that whole pattern that was set up in the original narrative.
Genesis doesn't mention male and female. But Genesis doesn't mention
no, not when it comes to man. Right, exactly. When it comes to man, it just says he created Adam and then created Eve as an afterthought, like completely abandoning that pattern setup.
That's the spiritual
creating
side.
Male and female.
That's the spiritual side. That's your awakening. That's what happens to the man. The female comes into a system, and it's the duality, the dual system coming together. The 2 by 2, all the animals 2 by 2. That's the dual system of the physical world. And Eve is his spiritual self come to him, and it's hard to explain, but it's that your female turns up and you're connected. You're one. Don't long for your partner.
Well, read it again though, and you'll see what I'm saying is true. That it sets up this narrative of creating male and female birds and bees and fishes and whales and all these animals.
Hold on, you keep saying male and female, but there's nothing in the Genesis that says anything about male and female animals or male and female birds.
2 by 2 in order to procreate, male and female.
No,
I mean, it goes without saying.
That's Noah's Ark.
We're
talking about Noah's Ark.
Well, in Genesis it talks about.
In creation, in the story of creation,
but it says it as if they can both do it in Hebrew, and that afterwards, now Eve, which is why her name was what it was, and what Adam named her, because now she had the burden of birth. So they were told to reproduce before it was even delineated to women.
That might be connected to spiritual birth. Is not painful, but physical birth is. You come into the dual world.
That's right. They entered a physical, material world at that point.
Yeah, and that's where you become a duality. And your goal is to come back to singularity. You've come from a single, heaven, whatever you want to call it, single place, you leave and go back single. And people, people think, well, wow, when you die, do you meet up with your grandma or your wife or whatever? No, you're a single person. You don't need your lover or anyone. You're single. You're one with God type thing,
Okay.
But that's what it's all about.
Let me backtrack a little bit so we can get John's question answered, because this is important, as far as how the gyro compasses work. You asked about Lenz's law, and this is kind of a pivotal thing, and I'll be talking about it a lot, and I have talked about it a lot. That's why I'm surprised you haven't seen this yet, John, but I haven't seen this video. I just pulled this one out. I'm assuming it's what we need. But let's watch this really quick, and it's only a minute and a half, and see what you think. Ready? Here we go. Come on, sound. Let me know if there's sound, right? Wow, I don't hear any sound.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, apparently it doesn't have any sound. That's okay. Let's see. Unavailable. Okay. But you see what's happening? He drops the magnet through, or he dropped the ball bearing through, and it just fell through. Now, magnet takes a long time. See? Now, I think they're probably going to show you a different camera view. See, it takes forever to get through there. So what's holding it back? And as we know, as I've told you many times before, the magnet, when you move a magnet across a conductor, or the tube in this case, it induces a magnetic current, or an electrical current, excuse me. And when you have an electrical current flowing in a conductor, it then creates a electrical current, which creates a magnetic current going in the opposite polarity. And that's what it does, is it slows it way down. And Zack has a video also that he did where he had the gyroscope spinning, and the gyroscope is made up of stainless steel and brass. But even though that was happening, he put a magnet next to it, and it was able to influence it. Right, Zack?
Yeah, it actually, like if you just put the magnet next to it when it wasn't spinning, nothing would happen. I think there was something in there that was slightly ferromagnetic, because it would attract a little bit. But yeah, as soon as I would spin that thing up and create a motion, either the brass or the magnet has to be moving. But when you create that motion of the brass spinning so fast, you push that magnet and it dampens it real quick. You can actually see it slow down the gyroscope, or the gyroscope.
Yeah, I had to take a big crash course in science, all that electrical engineering and atmosphere.
Well, believe me,
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm having audio issues, so I'm having trouble understanding what you guys are saying. Is it just me, or is anyone else having audio issues?
No, I'm not having any problems. Are you guys?
I'm fine.
I reckon it's just me.
Always a troublemaker. Okay, so and then what was the other thing that we were talking about earlier? I think that was probably it. And we are coming up on our 3 hours. God, that went really quick. So Lindsay, I guess we should probably start thinking about wrapping up. So give us a little, wrap up and what you want to. Oh crap! I just removed Morgile. Morgile, come back in. I'm sorry. Add to stream. Okay, there we go. So anyway, Lindsay, go ahead and give us a wrap up.
And real quick, I just want to ask a question of Austin, just so I'm understanding. Austin, when in chapter 2 of Genesis, and they're talking about Adam and Eve, or creating Eve from Adam, isn't it just going into more detail than the chapter 1? Chapter 1's an overview where Eve is created in chapter 1, right? Because it does say that he made. Well, I was just wondering if you knew that. Or
not only does he say what it says God created this animal and that to procreate after its kind, and saw that it was good, just like the light, just like the water, just like the land. When it comes to man, it abandons that pattern completely and doesn't say that it was good.
No, but it's
just weird to me.
That's weird to me too. But I think that chapter 1 is giving an overview. So when he says he created all the animals, male and female, and they all came after that or whatever, then chapter 2 is talking about Eve being born from the rib, but it's not like a new story. It's just retelling a portion of.
If you start looking into some of the Gnostic Christian sort of fables or whatever, it answers a lot of that, and it's a matter of belief or faith, right, like what you choose to subscribe to. But I think that a lot of the Gnostic Christian teachings are good teachings, and some of them are probably not even actual Gnosticism. But it's one of those weaponized terms. Like the Gnostics, in my opinion, were the original actual Christians, and their teachings were basically made illegal. And you were killed for having certain writings.
I'll tell you what the story is.
But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion.
Okay, can I give you my take on that?
Sure, go for it.
Please.
Well, you see, Adam's alone, single, the singularity, the single by himself. He's lonely. Did he mention that in there somewhere? Lonely, yes. Maybe, because he's basically not in the garden with the average Joe Blow in the world, because they're all of a dual system, so they think differently to him. But then they bring Eve into the picture, and then she creates hell, right? Basically, because now he's brought the dual system into the picture. And Eve, being the duality, has brought him into trouble. Yeah, actually, a bit hard to explain now because it gets tangled up with the dual system and the singularity. But you've got to realize that's what they're on about here: the dual system and the single system. And they get caught out, then get thrown out of the garden, and that could mean you've been woken up and you've been cut off from the rest of man's common thinking, I won't go on about that.
Okay, just to answer you, Jeran, real fast. So Adam was created, and then he named all the animals, and then he was given Eve. So it was like he had a job before the distraction that is females. That's kind of a joke, but that's the answer. But what's interesting is a lot of the modern Christian interpretations are all just off the wall. If you look at Hebrew, it's a totally different aspect, and it's like to divine. She looked at the aspect of being able to have certain types of knowledge and more power.
Where do you read the Hebrew? Where do you see that? Where do you go to get that?
Right. So you go to anywhere you go is going to show you the Hebrew. But what the tricky thing about Hebrew is to properly define it, you have to know the context of it. And so it has like 2, 3, 4 applications, usually around 3. That can be used at that time, and modern Christianity has misused all of them, and I would in no way say it's by accident. It's not, in my opinion. But
what is that? What is the app, Austin? The sword?
Yeah, eSword.
eSword. That'd be a good one, Jeran. You can go and look up all different kinds of. I think it has it in Latin, Greek, Hebrew. It has all of them.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. You can go through and see all the different changes and everything. Yeah, eSword.
And it's a really interesting story because Eve was basically like given the burden of pain and recreation, but they were told to do that before the fall. They were told to procreate, like collectively told, like as if there was some other mechanism to reproduce prior to. That's what the Hebrew said.
I did a series of videos, and they're all relatively short. They're all about 15 minutes. I think there might be 4 or 5 of them. I've got them as a playlist on my channel. It's called like Decoding the Christian something. And it's not like what you would necessarily expect, but it does have some interesting stuff in there. If you're interested, check that out on my channel. I can try to send Bob a link. I don't have a link offhand right now, but you can find it on my channel if you're interested. But so there's some good stuff in there.
Right. And so I guess what I was saying, and just tell me if I'm right on this, that Eve was created in the 7 days. Not
I don't remember. I don't remember specifically.
They were Adam and Eve were both created on the same 6th day.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Eve was just made a little bit after Adam went and named the animals.
It says that he saw that he was lonely, or something to that effect. I don't know the exact
it's the
words.
Same day. They're both created on the 6th day, though.
Right. But
because it's coming together.
Yeah,
it's the man's enlightenment when it's female and that connect.
Correct. It's just the way John was describing it was almost as if he completed the 7 days of creation and then saw that Adam was lonely, and that's not the way it works. Chapter 2 is telling more detail about day 6.
I'm talking about the verbiage in one of the very first books, how it says that he created the creatures, two of a kind, to procreate in their own kind, and saw that it was good.
Yeah,
and then that what's that?
That's day 6, chapter 1. Okay.
Right. Look.
Right.
She
And so
came
that
later,
that
but still on
device.
she came later.
There
but on
was
the
a
same
pattern
day.
set up. There was a pattern set up in that device, the literary device, of that there was two created, kind after its kind to procreate, and saw that it was good. And that device was completely abandoned in the book. And then
chapter 2 is telling more detail about day 6. Nothing got abandoned. It wasn't like
because the creator saw that he something to that effect, saw that he was lonely.
Yeah, but
Okay,
in
look,
day 6,
he made all the animals, and then he needed Adam to go exercise domain over those animals and name them. Then he gave Adam his partner on the same 6th day. Like that's
correct.
But that was as a reaction to Adam's loneliness. There wasn't part of the plan according to that. It's weird.
He saw that, he said it tells you that he saw that he was lonely after naming the animals. Yeah.
You know, some people have this enlightenment when they're lonely and sad, and they like go to pray, and then they have this awakening. God talks to them, sort of thing. You hear those stories, and you know, man's enlightenment is that the duality coming together. This female comes into him, and he has a taste of it. It only lasts a short time, but that's the story.
Well, not according to the Gnostics. That again, it's a whole nother conversation. But according to the Gnostic belief, basically Satan, the adversary, Lucifer, the fallen angels, were the ones that created the physical realm, basically. And it is a place where basically the flesh is there to torment and entrap your spirit into the lower vibrational state type of thing.
That's the dual system. You've got to go back to the heavenly, the singularity.
Yeah, which is why, like, you see the sun right in front of you, the light go down and come back up. And just like if you close your eyes start moving really fast, rapid eye movement when you go to sleep, REM sleep, but your pineal gland becomes much more active. But it's surrounded in darkness effectively, and it's just a single more dim light. So it's sort of like the moon, and then you also have the sun. And so the Gnostics are right in the sense that there is a duality built into nature that's directly related to the duality within us, and they just go this crazy satanic evil route with it. It doesn't mean that there's no truth to the knowledge. They have the knowledge, they're just not very good at using it.
It's all quite secret.
What it was a threat to the Roman hierarchy because for whatever reason the true Christians they transcended death somehow. That's the story. And they didn't care whether they lived or died because their spirit transcends death, right? And that was their belief. And that, what's that?
That's the eternal life.
Well, the Romans, when they were killing Christians, they found that for every Christian that they killed, 5 more would spring up in their place because of the whole martyr concept. And so instead of trying to fight them, they ended up not just joining them, but literally commandeering official Christendom and making the actual true teachings of Christ illegal and killing you for repeating
That's
it.
correct. That is correct. But there are pagan traditions that explain a lot of what goes on. Like people call them the word pagan. They do adequately explain a lot of stuff that goes on. And it does apply to how everything of energy works within you and how you work within it. And there is a continuous cycle of energy until at one point the scriptures say you can cease to exist if you do not choose the route of the perpetual energy. That's what it actually says. I mean, but so I try not to come off too dogmatic against when people talk about some of the Gnostic subjects because there is some truth to a lot of the stuff. Like the truth's been hidden from us, you know?
Yep, I agree. Okay, cool. Well, anyway, guys, we need to start wrapping this up. So Lindsay, again, let's go ahead and I'll give it to you to, say a last few words and everything. And, I got to tell you, this has just really been fantastic for me because I see so much, so many similarities in what I've discovered in researching this and the things that you're coming up with. I do also recognize that you kind of talk in a way, it's clear that it's very obvious to you, but you have the same problem that a lot of us do, and that, you know, a lot of people can't necessarily relate, because it needs to be put to them in I don't know, by a different sort of way, I guess. And that's one thing that I'd really like to help with, and the panel would really like to help with, because I'm going to dig into your work, and, you know, I'm pretty good at being able to kind of interpret what other people are saying. And I would find it an honor to do that with your work, because I think it's that good. I really do. But, you know, like I said, you can't always reach everybody. And this is something that I think needs to reach everybody, because we're starting to hit at the heart of some serious truths here. So I'm really impressed with what you're doing. I am really glad you came on today, and you will be coming back, sir. So
thank you.
Other than that, you want to leave us with any parting words?
Just realizing that you're in the physical world. It's a dual system, but you have to think of where you've come from and where you're going. There's a non-physical, and it's singularity. And you just look at this model here. Think of the center. If that is like this, it all comes out of the center. Everything passes out of the center. Understanding the electrical engineering, like electrical potential between the center north and the outer perimeter, the EMF that comes out of that gap. It's all here in the physical world, but you've got to think more spiritual and understand there is another side to everything you've been taught. You just think everything's physical. You know, you have to see it, you have to feel it.
The saying "as above, so below" takes on a whole new meaning here.
You have to think outside of the box, not everything like what you've been taught at school. You've got to really open up and think. This is more practical, shows you the meaning to life.
The funniest thing that they've done is
I know.
John, go on mute.
The funniest thing was that they've turned everything on its head, and now you're an insane person if you believe that you're stationary and that your senses work, and you're a sane person if you think you're spinning and flying 1,000,000 miles per hour and in an infinite vacuum. That's hilarious.
Complete mind control from 5 years old. That's all. That's all it is.
Yep, and they call us the nutty ones.
You're enslaved. Yeah.
You're considered smart. You're smart in the world if you simply repeat what somebody else told you. That's the most intelligent person.
Yeah. Educated parrot, gone through their parrot schooling.
Yep. Yeah. So Simon Dan, who doesn't have an opinion of his own, just sits there and reads whatever is given to him in physics books. He's considered smart. That's intelligent.
Yeah, and I don't even think Simon Dan has any type of formal education, to be honest with you.
Just crushing it, though, isn't he? Oh, my God. Everything that guy does turns to gold.
Well, yeah, it happens when YouTube promotes everything. It's kind of like Professor Dave having 10 million hits debunking globebusters. I mean, more people heard about us through him probably than
his answers are horrendous. The other day I hadn't heard it in a while, and I went to watch some of it, and all I heard him say was, because it was already like at the middle of the video, and he's talking about how we say that there's such a difference in the North and South, right? Because there's no animals in the South, there's no plants in the South. So he's going over that part, and then he's like, no, guys, it's actually for different reasons that there's no animals in the North and South. But that's for another show. And then he goes on like, that's your debunk? Actually, guys, it's for a different reason.
Yeah, but he says it so absolutely and with such confidence, and because of the fact that, he's got all these view counts on it, people look, view count, look at that, 10 million. He must be right. Those globebusters must really be dumb.
So
what that tells me,
yell you back and say the same thing.
They have to put us on it.
There are very powerful systems in place to program people into believing him. And then, of course, you have on top of that, YouTube and the different algorithms promoting that sort of content and blackballing actual legitimate flat earth content. I mean, that's why.
Right. And then these guys go around saying that they're responsible for the flat earth dying. That flat earth is going away, when it's like, no, you're not responsible. YouTube is. Because they don't, if somebody goes looking, all they can find is the debunk stuff. You can't even find our stuff unless you know our name exactly.
And stuff I was looking for when I was getting into this, you couldn't find it online. But not long after I started posting stuff, I go back to and find, oh, there's information that's basically saying what I'm saying, or information they had that I was going to use against them. You go back there and it's flipping all changed. It's not as clear as how I was describing it, like the solar poloidal magnetic field of Earth. It's sort of, it all added up with the system, except the sun, having the sun 93 million miles away. But now you go back, it's totally different. I could hardly understand it myself.
Yep. I had, we have pondered many times that they are listening to us and responding to us in a lot of different ways. And a lot of the other people like yourself, that draw large amounts of trolls, they're there for a reason, because they don't want what you're saying being related to people and getting out, and worse yet, understood by anyone. Heaven forbid, right?
Yeah.
So, it tells you a lot the way that they react. So I suppose the trolls are good for that, but other than that, they're just a bunch of idiots.
You know what I want to rip open, Bob, is I really think I found a gross error on their part in the equatorial sundial. That the fact that you have to stick this straw, you have to point it at the North Pole star, Polaris, and then you have to put this fixed disc in a place, and then the sun gives the times. Which then, when you get into the fact that you have to know your latitude, so I started looking into that. I'm like, well, wait a second. People who used the sundials back in the past didn't know their latitude. So how would they have been able to fix this? Well, then I realized it's because if you look at the straw that comes out the middle of the sundial, or whatever you use to build it, that it's marked on there, the different latitudes, but they're not all equal. They exponentially grow in distance. So I was like, what is this about? Then I realized it's because think about how perspective works. If there's a mountain off in the distance and you start walking towards it, that mountain grows very, very slowly. It doesn't get taller very fast. But when you get close to it, what happens to that mountain? Now, all of a sudden, it starts going fast, fast, fast till it's up above your head. So when you're far away from something, it is slower than when you're close to it. And then if you look at the equatorial sundial, that's why it's set up that way, is because depending on how far away you are from the North Star, they angle that disc based on that. It's not based off a globe. So clearly the fact that they have it is based off of your distance from the North Star and your angle towards it. And as you get closer, they need it to correct faster. And that wouldn't be the case on the globe. It would be
absolutely
it would be identical all the way through the sphere, not growing.
Yep, I totally agree.
So we'll be turning that person.
Yep. So yeah, that's really amazing. And of course, we're discovering that quickly with time-lapse photography, and Chris Van Maitre's checking the lengths of the star lengths, right, under the time lapse. So the moon is producing a line the same length as a star that's light years behind it, and the moon's only 238,000 miles away. I don't think so. There's something wrong there. There's something really wrong there, and there's so many little hints that tell us that that everything is closer than what they're telling us it is. That much is obvious. So yeah, I would go for that. So
on the Earthly model, it's no more than 10,000 kilometers, but it's right down here. It all comes onto your arc of horizon, way down here. It's all projected down onto your arc. So it can be like within 200 miles, but the sun is always the furthest away. So you're looking through the light spectrum. So if any other object comes in front, obviously the sun's going to be behind it because it's made up of the whole light spectrum, the whole frequency range. So it's always at the back, at the top, like Christ, Jesus, whatever. So if you're just looking at the sun setting on the horizon, the ocean, it's really only could be 5 to 200 miles away. It's all to do with your eyeballs, and it's in your arc of horizon. Nothing's physical, remember?
Yep, absolutely. Very good.
But if it's up here, you can say it's up here, but it's still being projected down onto your arc of horizon. So it's all to do with the human eyeball and the brain.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely incredible, Lindsay. All right, so let's swing around to Zack. What have you thought about this presentation today, and give us your take on it?
Yeah, I have a lot to ponder on, that's for sure. I mean, a lot of it I've already been gravitating towards, like everything comes from the center. For some reason, I've been thinking that a lot over the last couple years, just the way that it all works, it's got to be like projected from one source, in my opinion. And yeah, and I love the black hole analogy. That's, source, the one that creates everything, and that would make sense that that's right in the center. And yeah, no, a lot of thinking. I'll do a lot of thinking on it and see if I can't help you out in some ways, fine tuning it. But yeah, I'm digging it.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, that's good to hear. And John TheMorgile, you're popping in and out, so I'm going to go ahead and move over to you next for your closing statements. What are you thinking, sir? Oh boy, you there, John? You're cutting in and out really bad. Crud. We're not hearing you at all, John. All right. Well, I guess let's move on. Then John's having some technical issues. So Austin, what do you think about this, sir? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I want to look way more into it. I do see the way that I see it instinctively is that it is viable, and it's interesting. Like the stars, I think you could test that. It would just be a bit tedious, and that would be a crazy confirmation, like Jeran said. But just overall, it makes a lot of sense logically. Certainly with the magnetic field, like Zack said, and like the point source in the center. So like, it's very interesting, man. I am intrigued, and I don't take any issue, as some people would have expected, I guess, with his analogies of Christ and that within. Like, I think that everything was created to show you the story, then it actually physically took place as well. So that's where we differ. But like, yeah, I think it's super interesting, man, because that is how it would be. Everything would be intertwined. There is the background that connects everything. And so, I mean, obviously this is a possibility. It's the way I see it.
Yep. Outstanding. Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I think we just need to work through the verbiage and, get to be more familiar with this stuff. Like I said, I'm going to be watching Lindsay videos this week for sure, and see if I can catch up on this. And I'm sure the entire panel will be, Lindsay. So, and I would imagine you're going to see quite a few viewer counts, pop up this week, because what you presented today is really quite interesting. And it does in so many ways go along with what each and every one of us individually have, uncovered about the flat earth. And I think that's great. And like I said, it's clearly out of the box thinking. You're one of the few people that looks at the flat earth this way, if not the only one. I see similarities in Santos Bonacci and in Martin Kenny, but you definitely have your own take on it, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I'm really liking that. So, okay, so let's see if we can get John TheMorgile back in here. Okay, John, I added you back into the stream. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I'm here. My connection is not the best right now, but I'm here.
Okay, we're hearing you good now. So go ahead and say your final words. Oops, you muted. Can you go ahead and say your final words then, John? Oh, I guess his connection isn't the best. All right, he just dropped out. All right, well, let me go ahead and give a few shout outs real quick for the super chats and stuff like that. And we got, I think we got one super chat from Awesome Austin on YouTube, which says, amazing stream. I love this stuff. Much respect, guys. Thank you so much, Austin, for that. And let me kick over to the Rockfin side. And let's see. Let's go up here and start at the top. And we have Annihilator Sapphire, who says, nowhere near the meal you're looking for, Bob, but there's a few Canadian cuck bucks for you. Great show. Keep up the great work, everyone. Okay, well, thank you much for that, Annihilator Sapphire. And then he leaves another tip, and he says, should put Jeran in charge of the ones and twos and free Bob up to focus on talking and hosting. That'll keep Jeran more engaged and flowing well. Just my, well, basically 2 cents worth nowadays. Yeah, I agree. You know, I try and keep Jeran more engaged. He says he likes listening to everything that's going on, but I think he forgets how much people like to listen to, you know, his take on things. So I totally relate with you. Robert Zafaris sent us his big tip as usual. Thank you so much, Robert. You are a rock star, sir. And we got another one from Annihilator Sapphire, which says, amazing work, Lindsay. I'm going to have to watch this a few times to understand more, but thanks for all the work and coming on live. P.S. Is Jeran P.S. Jeran still a balloon guy or what? That guy was trolling you the other day, wasn't he, Jeran? All right. Julie Bennett left us. I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, can you hear me?
I hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I was having connection issues, but it seems to be resolved now. So,
okay. Did you have any final words you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'll just wrap up because I'm gonna start watching the Super Bowl here in about 20 minutes, and I have to run to the store. So thanks so much, you guys. Love you, and check me out on TheMorgile. I'll have some videos up pretty soon. Hopefully, I have my laptops in the shop, so hopefully I'll be able to get that fixed for cheap. So we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Okay, John. Well, thanks for joining us today. And let me know what they say on that, because I do have lots of laptop parts. So, you know, maybe I can help you out with that.
I still got to bring it over, man. You just tell me when and where, and I'll be there.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right. All right, guys. Take care.
All right. And getting back to the tips, we'll see you later, John. Annihilator Sapphire says, when will Austin be ripping McToon or FTFE fight the flat earth a new one again? You're the debate assassin. It's inspiring watching McToon go down. Makes my day. Well, that's a nice compliment.
Yeah, thank you for the compliment. I think I've decided that out of principle I will not be debating McLooney Tunes anymore, but I might do some more debates soon. So thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, people just like they like you because you do it in a very classy way. The way you do it, unlike some adversarial debate shows where they want to know how their balls taste. I can live without that, but whatever. All right, and then we have, getting back to the tips, we have Beverly Wheeler, which says, note, the true Messiah is the Lamb of Yahweh, and lambs are only born in the springtime. See John 1:29-35, 6:48 through 51, Exodus 16:1, 12:14. Yes, Yahshua is our manna man, the bread of life. He was born on manna day, 2nd month and 15th day. So that'd be like March. I don't know, whatever that would be. It's all screwy to me. Thus says Yahweh. Research it. Okay, cool. And
that would be like in April in Hebrew terms, but anyway.
April in Hebrew terms? Yeah, because I know their calendar is completely different.
Yeah.
So, all right, and that looks like that is all of the tips that we got, which is fantastic. So I guess that brings us around to you, Jeran, for your final words on the show. What do you think of today's presentation?
I think Jeran dropped.
He did?
I don't see him.
Uh-oh.
I could be wrong, but I just don't see Jeran.
Sorry, I had to run. Someone is here to look at our other car. Oh, okay. All right. He had somebody that came up. That's okay. I understand he did have an appointment. And we were going to run today's show actually short, and we didn't. We actually ran over. So there you go, Lindsay. Yeah, that's how popular the show came out to be. So glad we could do that for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, guys.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And we will be in touch, and we'll be setting up another. You got a move coming up, I understand, and then maybe after you get settled in on your new place, you'll come back and join us for another one.
Cool. No worries.
And dude, keep it up, bro, because when we can understand it and digest it and wrap our minds around it, we will come out and support you. And if you're on point, it would be a great thing. So I just encourage you to keep doing it, because that's how it always is when people come up with stuff that was overlooked. They're not understood at first.
Cool.
No, it can take years sometimes, believe me.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't believe how long it has taken me to get gravity, what is being mistaken for gravity, through people's heads. The model that the main screen gives us and what they tell us it is a bunch of horse manure. Yet there is most certainly a downward accelerative force. And it took me a long time, and Austin a long time. And, we cogitated on it and thought for a long time. And now I truly believe we understand it very well. And a lot of people are starting to hang on and grasp onto it now. So sometimes it just takes that perseverance. And, I definitely want to give your work the exposure that it deserves, because I think you're doing a great job. So thank you for being here today, Lindsay.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. No worries.
All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. So that will be today's show. We will see you next week. I think Jeran is going to be off next week because he's got some sort of a party that he has to go to for somebody's birthday in the family, in-laws, something like that. So that's okay. No worries. We will survive. And so I think that's about it for us. And we will see you then. So until then, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind, because there's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.